First Warehouse, the show where the truth is loud, the laughs are louder, and the vibes are straight up electric. Get on your feet and welcome the cast of Live from Studio 6B. First up, the smoothest cat in the game, the best dressed man on television, delivering your sports headlines with style and swagger, it's Slick Rick! He might be piloting UFOs by day, but by night he's beaming down the wildest news you've ever heard. The mastermind of What Even Is That? It's Rick Delgado! The man who's here to punish the pinkos, curb stomp the commies, don't even think about steaming his clams, it's Kevin Downey Jr. He's been throwing hands on Facebook since 2015. The one-man meme machine, the king of clapbacks, and his hairpiece looks great tonight. Give it up for Vinnie Mac, Vincent Buta. Well. He finally made it out of Damon's trunk, tinfoil hat intact, just in time to do the news. It's Paul Newland. You know him as the DeSantis-loving, Delgado-hating gnome who's never taking anyone to the sphere. We know him as the guy who started this whole mess. It's Big D. Damon Roberts. Welcome to Live from Studio 6B.
Check. Hey, everybody, thanks for coming out.
Yeah. So we go live in a couple minutes. I want to thank everybody for being here. We go live at 7. So I just want to take a second and introduce, we have a couple special guests with us tonight. And I want to bring out the first one. You see him each and every day in the White House asking those tough questions. His relationship with President Trump is undeniable if you've watched him. Let me bring out the Real America's Voice White House correspondent who's going to spend the night with us, Mr. Brian Glenn.
Thank you. All right, it's my pleasure to bring out my favorite congresswoman from the 14th District of Georgia, one of the biggest fighters of MAGA. She never deserted President Trump from day one. She's here, Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Let's get back to Kevin, Harry.
Hi, everybody.
This is great.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know how to do this. The America First Warehouse. Okay.
Oh.
Where liberals'
That's right.
heads explode.
Exactly.
Did you get it? Okay.
Harry's got it.
That's so much better than me.
What's that?
I said, you know how to do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And you're good, okay?
So are we in Studio B? Studio 6.
Well, Steve thinks we're in Studio 8H all the time.
Yeah.
What do you need? Any
He's been getting it right the last couple
on me
days.
if you can hook me up over here. I don't have the yoga flexibility like I used to. No.
Aaron, what do we have, 3 minutes?
Yeah. I just want some little Vincents. That's what I want. There's some little New York pizza.
Missed it. We were chowing down already.
Yeah.
I got it in the back for you, bro.
I know.
Did everyone vote?
Yeah.
Yes, great. Good job. Did we vote Republican?
If not, the door's over there.
Yeah. That's right.
This place is great. It's the first
I
time I've
know.
been
Look
here.
at this place. It's fun.
It's great.
We need one of these in Rome, Georgia.
You should come to New York more often is what we need to do. You know, my great-grandfather was the first white man to settle on Long Island, New York from England.
Really?
In fact, yeah, there's a whole museum in England. So I'm an honorary New Yorker.
Long Island.
2 minutes
Long
there,
Island.
2 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's our colonizer.
yeah. You can blame everything on me. I'm the
All right, minute 47.
Did he keep any of that Hamptons real estate?
No, I
Himself?
didn't kick any of it. No, the kick down Charlie Brown didn't apply to me.
Yeah. Okay.
Good show, guys.
Just give me the rundown. I see. Okay, zero on the right.
Margie.
What? Who's taking the first question, Slick or me? I don't know. That may take a second to get to. Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you, sir.
Crispy.
Thank you.
MAGA loves your Margie.
Aw, thank you.
Okay.
I love MAGA.
So, do we not have Cliff all night, or
Day
just for
one.
this?
We have a motto
Okay.
around here. If we don't succeed at first, we keep sucking until we do succeed.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah, we did go upstairs. That's why we're a little bit late, because Gary showed us upstairs. I had to rush.
The battle for America's future is on. From New York to New Jersey, from Virginia to every corner of this nation, the decisions made tonight will define the years ahead. From the guys at Studio 6B to Steve Bannon himself, Real America's Voice is bringing you breaking results, live reports, and unfiltered truth all night long. Get comfortable and join the conversation. The Road Forward 2025 on America's Voice starts right now.
All right, live. Election night, Real America's Voice on a Tuesday, November 4th, 7 p.m. on the East Coast. And we are live at the America First Warehouse with a room full of patriots. Right here on Real America's Voice, election coverage all night, 7 to midnight. We will set the table from 7 to 9. Steve Bannon will take it from 9 p.m. as we get results. Obviously, polls in Virginia closing right now. Obviously, New Jersey at 8 o'clock, New York at 9 o'clock, and we have got the A-team on the ground for you. First of all, I want to thank our sponsors who make this night possible. AMAC, go to amac.us/election right now. Receive a one-year membership for only $1. Don't wait. America needs you. Our great friends from AMAC, of course. Also, tonight's brought to you by our friends at The Wellness Company. Get American-made ivermectin at a price you can't beat at twc.health/voice. And, of course, our friends at Patriot Mobile. Patriot Mobile, America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. Make the switch today. I want to thank all three of them for making this what's going to be a fantastic night. The A-team is on the ground. The A-team is here at the America First Warehouse. We'll get to them all. In New York, David Zier will be covering the New York mayoral race. Obviously, we have David Zier at, I believe, Cuomo headquarters. I see David. In Virginia, we have Mark Serrano, who's embedded with Winsome Sears. Britt McHenry is also with Mark Serrano. In New Jersey, we have Mike Crispy, who's at the Jack Ciattarelli campaign. Down in Washington, D.C., the great and one and only John Solomon will join us as well. Jim McLaughlin is at Mar-Lago tonight. Of course, pollster and analysis all night long. And the great Ben Bergquam out in California. We'll be talking about Prop 50. The gang is all here. And let me introduce who's here at the America First Warehouse. Of course, the boys from Studio 6B are here. Slick Rick is over there. Slick in the little Slick Lounge. He's going to... Slick's going to be talking to the people here at the America First Warehouse. Kevin Downey Jr., the host of the Kevin Downey Jr. Show, is also in the audience. The audience plays a big part tonight, obviously New York in the spotlight tonight, what's happening in New York City. So we're going to want to talk to New Yorkers. And we've got a room full of patriots here at the America First Warehouse, so we'll talk to them. Joining me on the stage, of course, Mr. Paul Nolan, Mr. Rick Delgado, who will have news and analysis as we watch these races unfold. And we have two special guests. As I said in my intro here at the America First Warehouse, his relationship with President Trump is undeniable. If you've seen him asking questions and being in there and getting to the questions that you, the American people, are actually interested in, which is a novel idea in some of these press conferences. He is the White House correspondent for Real America's Voice, and we are honored to have him here, and that is the one and only Mr. Brian Glenn.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And Brian, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
An exciting night. Your first time at the America First Warehouse.
This is my first time. I'm looking around going, okay, there's a lot of cool people here, a lot of cool stuff here.
And let me introduce, who needs no introduction, sitting to my right, and that is the Congresswoman from the great state of Georgia, Marjorie Taylor Greene. MTG in the house.
Hi, everyone.
Congresswoman,
Excited to be
it is
here.
great to have you here.
Thank you so much. Excited to be here.
It's going to be a great night. We are excited to have everybody here. Let's go out to the field if we can and talk to all of our correspondents who are on the ground as well. Let me introduce them. First, if we can go to New York, if we have him, Mr. David Zier is at Cuomo headquarters. David, how are you?
Hi, good evening, Damon. It's great to be with everybody. This place is going to fill up here. People are allowed in at 8:30. We're at the Ziegfeld Ballroom in Midtown Manhattan, and this place is jam-packed with media tonight. And we will see what tonight will bring. The voting numbers, Damon, in New York City are extraordinary. The highest turnout of the 21st century so far, and could even approach 1969 Mayor Lindsay, which had 2.5 million votes. But we're at like 1.6 million probably plus right now, and the polls close in 2 hours.
All right, very good. David will be there all night covering the New York mayoral race, and we'll see if there's any drama whatsoever. And that might be the question of the night. Where is there drama tonight? Is there drama? Congresswoman Greene, let me ask you, first of all, can you give me your overall perspective of the night? Obviously, the Democrats and the media tonight will take any positive, a win, and turn it into the world's falling apart, Trump's being repudiated. We know what they're going to do. What should we be looking for in a night like tonight?
Well, they're trying to make this a referendum on Donald Trump, and it's really not. Virginia went for Kamala Harris. New Jersey went for Kamala Harris, and New York, unfortunately, Democrats just win here. Of course they went for Kamala Harris. So if we see any Republican wins, we're actually going to see great victories. This is really a referendum on the Democrat Party. Are they going to take the full hard turn left into socialism, really communism? We're going to see that in the mayor's race in New York. And I think that's going to be what we see happen tonight. Unfortunately, I'm sorry, everyone. But this is not about Donald Trump. This is really about the identity of the Democrat Party.
All right, very good. We'll get to a lot of that tonight, obviously, very well. Let's head out to Texas. We have the great, you see him right before us, 7 to 8 weeknights here on Real America's Voice, the great Grant Stinchfield, who is in Texas. Grant, how are you? Good evening.
Good evening to you, and good evening to everyone at the America First Warehouse. I'll tell you what, I love that place, and I'm jealous I'm not with all of you.
Yeah, we'd love to have you here. Get up here. You just heard Congresswoman Greene lay out kind of what the night is about, Grant. First of all, tell us what you're covering in Texas, what we should be looking for there, and give me your overall thoughts on what you think the night means.
All right, so we've got an interesting state Senate race here that's actually filling a vacant seat. There's 3 people in that race. If that goes to a runoff, we've got another election in December, and then that would only be for the next year. There's a primary in March, so this seat is a very complicated one. Lee Wamsgans, who is a great friend of ours from Patriot Mobile, and this is where Patriot Mobile's headquarters will be tonight. So a big thank you for them for inviting us. But Texas does not have too many big ballot measures. We got a lot of constitutional things on tax issues. I won't bore you with all of them, but I will say this. I was so happy to hear Marjorie Taylor Greene say exactly what I believe. This is not about Donald Trump tonight. You know, Virginia has a history history of voting for governor of whoever the opposite of who's in the White House. This is what Virginia does. And so, it's an uphill battle in Virginia. New Jersey, don't count Jack Ciattarelli out. I'll tell you what, I was talking to some friends of mine in New Jersey. As many of you know, I'm from the New York tri-state area. There's a lot of people who are quiet about voting in New York. These New Jersey men, they don't even talk to their families about who they're voting for. So don't count Jack out. But Marjorie is correct. This is not a referendum on Donald Trump. It's Virginia and New Jersey, for crying out loud. So it'll be interesting to see. I do have a wager on that the Democrats don't run the table. And I got really good odds on that, by the way. So I'm hoping for at least a victory, 1 out of the 3, Virginia, New Jersey, and let's hope Mamdani doesn't win. But I'm a Sliwa guy, and I'm not really happy about this whole Cuomo in the race. It's disastrous to me to think that Cuomo is even an option in New York City.
The great Grant Stinchfield, he'll be with us all night down in Texas. Let me bring in Brian Glenn. Brian, you heard with what Grant said.
Yeah.
You look at New York, it is pretty amazing, and you look at the choices that New York had here. One guy obviously wants to kill every baby that you want whenever you want, and the other guy has a worldview that inspired the greatest tragedy in modern American history right here in this city. It is quite amazing to think about what could happen in New York tonight, but speak to that, but also, as I'm asking everybody, kind of give me your overall thoughts on the night.
It's hard to believe that in the great city of New York, one of the greatest cities in the world, that we can't find a quality candidate to run for the Republican Party and really unify Americans on so many issues. If you look back whenever Lee Zeldin won for governor, at the time, we were shut down. It was coming out. It was Joe Biden. We were coming out of the COVID lockdown. We had every reason in the world to elect Lee Zeldin, and it fell, unfortunately, short. You fast forward now, if New Yorkers can't see in the rearview mirror what's coming behind them, there is socialism and communism coming for this city. And I'm a little disappointed in the Republican Party that we could not get a better candidate that can beat Mamdani. It's unbelievable that we're in the predicament that we are, but that's where we're at. And I don't know if he was to win tonight, if that means we have a greater chance of having a Republican governor for the next governor race, because the city's going to say, hey, we cannot survive any longer. We've got to have a strong Republican governor. Maybe that increases the chances of that happening. But tonight, I all but thrown in the towel that unfortunately New York City is going to touch the hot stove on communism.
Yeah. Let's go out to New Jersey. Speaking of what's going to happen tonight and where there could be drama, again, the polls in Virginia, I believe, closed about 10 minutes ago at 7, so I'm sure the numbers will start to roll in there. Let's go out to New Jersey, where we have Mike Crispy's out there embedded with the Jack Ciattarelli campaign. And Mike, you know this area well. First of all, welcome. We're glad to have you as part of the coverage tonight. A lot of people talked all day about what we had to see in New Jersey today with voter turnout for this to be close and this to be maybe the only drama of the night. Give us your thoughts on what you've heard on the ground today out there, and what do we need to look for tonight to say that this race is going to be within, that he's going to have a chance?
Right. Well, it's good to be with you guys. Great to be part of this coverage with this great team. And, I'm looking at the initial results of where we're at so far, and it looks like the early vote from last time to this time was about the same margin. Jack Ciattarelli ran in 2021 and came up 84,000 votes short of becoming the governor that time. This time we're looking at almost the same margin headed into Election Day today. Now, the difference, unaffiliated voters, there's 133,000 more unaffiliated voters who voted this time coming into Election Day than the last election. So that's interesting. Now, taking it into Election Day and Election Day turnout, right now I will say we are seeing unprecedented levels, increased levels in Republicans, but also with unaffiliateds and Democrats. So it looks like a high turnout election all around. It's going to be interesting to see what that means. You have places like Newark right now that are reporting very high turnout, in the inner city, maybe the highest turnout in the inner city since 2005. That's kind of surprising to people, guys, because nobody thought Mikey Sherrill was much of a candidate that could appeal to the inner city urban vote. That's an interesting thing to watch tonight. And then obviously the unaffiliated, the numbers are way up, and we're going to see how that breaks for Jack Ciattarelli. It's looking like the math is going to be razor thin, as close as it was last time. We'll see if these factors with unaffiliated and turnout can make the difference for Jack Ciattarelli.
All right, Mike Crispy on the ground there in New Jersey. We'll be going out to him. Obviously, polls in New Jersey close at 8 o'clock. Let's go down to Virginia, where we have Mark Serrano embedded with the Winsome Sears campaign. Britt McHenry as well with Mark. Mark and Brittany, Britt, welcome to the coverage tonight. Glad to have you here. Tell us what you're hearing. Polls closed about 10 minutes ago. What should we be looking for in the early returns out of Virginia?
Thanks, Damon. We are glad to be a part of this all-star cast tonight. And look, Virginia is a funny state because it's got high concentrations of Democrats in Northern Virginia, closer into Washington, D.C., as well as around the city of Richmond, but vast swaths of less densely populated areas throughout the state, agriculture areas, with Republicans. So the opportunity, the challenge for a statewide candidate, such as Winsome Sears, is to get dramatic turnout from those rural areas. We've got a situation here where a lot of federal workers have been sitting home furloughed in Northern Virginia, and I think they are highly susceptible to turnout in this race. And so Winsome Sears is going to be appearing here later tonight. And look, I now that polls are closed, I can say I'm not feeling good about this race for Republicans, although I would say we could see an interesting situation in the state with ticket splitting, where people turn to the Democrat for governor, but Attorney General Mayeras for a re-election because of the controversy over Jay Jones. So Britt and I will be here all night tracking results. I know Britt already pulled up some data about turnout with early voting. Britt.
Yeah, there's been 1.4 million early votes, and traditionally we know a lot of early voting can go to a Democratic candidate. This is the largest turnout. It's been 300,000 more votes than the last gubernatorial campaign, so clearly there is an involvement and an investment on a numerical level for these two women to elect the first female governor in Virginia's history. And I think you nailed it on the head, and Stinchfield said it too with, cross ticket. I think Jay Jones and the controversy 3 weeks ago, those very violent text messages that were released may really hit him hard where it hurts in the voting booth today. But there's been an overwhelming push for Abigail Spanberger, and a source of mine told me to really keep an eye out as we are getting the numbers in right now for Southwest Virginia and Blacksburg in particular. But we will have all of the latest results, of course, here because voting and polls close at 7.
And Damon, I'll just close by saying that speaking from the press riser in a sea of mainstream media, there's no place I'd rather be right now than the America First warehouse with our MAGA viewers for rap.
Yeah. All right, Mark and Britt will be down there, and we'll keep going back to them as the numbers come in. MTG's with us. What does it say when you think about Jay Jones wishing death upon his opponent, talking about death of his children, saying sometimes you need to move these people on policy by coming up with this violence. You have to almost threaten them, he said, to move them on policy. When you think about this guy's in position to win still, and you think about what could possibly happen in New York tonight, what does that say to you?
We've already seen that the past 4 years. So if Jay Jones becomes Attorney General of Virginia, you're talking about having someone extremely dangerous serving in a very serious position of power that can prosecute people.
Yeah, could you imagine being a Republican in that place, knowing that he's the Attorney General and knowing what he actually thinks of you?
Well, I can, because I served under Speaker Pelosi in the first 2 years of Joe Biden's presidency, and I've been in Congress since after J6. That was my third day on the job in 2021. I do know what that's like, and that's why I take that very serious. And I really hope that the people of Virginia can overcome their political parties and actually vote the right way on that one. But I think we'll find out tonight. And I think I actually heard one of the guys that works for me said it right. He said that's actually the race to watch. And I'll tell you why that's the race to watch. After Charlie Kirk was assassinated, martyred. I'll say Charlie Kirk was martyred. But after that, we saw, countless Democrats come out and celebrate his murder. And
Doctors, lawyers,
Yep.
physicians, anesthesiologists.
all
people-
kinds of
yeah.
people on the left. And if they're still willing to vote for a man that wished for his opponent's children to be killed and his opponent and his family, then I think that's the referendum that we're going to see tonight.
Yeah. All right, we'll take a quick break. We're just getting started. Election night coverage right here, Real America's Voice. Steve Bannon will take the ship at 9 p.m., but we'll take you till then. A lot more to get to, including our great Ben Bergquam, John Solomon. We'll bring them all in when we get back, and we'll bring the boys here from 6P in as well. On an election night, Real America's Voice. We're back right after this. Okay, well, I'm telling them now.
Oh, there we are.
So, Aaron.
Are we live in the chats, by the way?
All right, I have to. I want to get Ben in, but let me get Paul a quick comment on the night, and Delgado a quick comment on the night, and then we'll do Ben, and then we'll see if we have an audience, if we have somebody for the first audience participation here.
The direction that
Right.
the Democrat Party is going.
Mhm.
Denver, are you cool with that?
I think so. Yeah, I think that's good to talk about.
Okay, I could not see. I was trying to see who else I was
Delgado, you
on the
had any
screen. I
numbers
did
in
not see
from,
John. but
New
yes,
York?
I'll get
Yeah,
John.
I got some early from Virginia,
Okay.
but it's
Okay.
really
Gotta go
early.
too.
I didn't know Mike was on tonight. It's great.
Okay, I'm going to do the guys here first because they'll be quick. Then I'll go to Ben. Then I'll go to Solomon.
Georgia race too.
What? Do we have somebody? Okay, so we'll try to get to somebody after I get to Solomon. So we got four things: him, Ben Bergquam, Solomon, and then we'll come to a question. So get something good prepped, and make sure I know what it is.
Thank you.
Yeah, it keeps going down on me. Yeah, I just won't try not to touch it. I think I bumped it.
Delgado, could you send me a link to
that's perfect.
where you're getting your live results?
I don't care. Election night 2025, Real America's Voice, live from Studio 6B. We are at the America First Warehouse. Election night coverage, 7 to midnight, right here on Real America's Voice. We'll set the stage from 7 to 9. Steve Bannon will take it over at 9 p.m. And we've got the all-star team on the ground. Of course, as we've introduced you to a lot of them, David Zier in New York, Mark Serrano and Britt McHenry in Virginia, Grant Stinchfield in Texas, Mike Crispy in New Jersey. Ben Bergquam we'll get to here in a second. The great John Solomon in Washington, D.C. with analysis all night. We'll get to both of them. But first, let me give the guys here a chance to jump in. Paul Nolan is here to my left. Mr. Nolan, what's this night mean to you?
Well, I mean, the Democrats are finally admitting what they are, communists. And the high turnout, it just tells you the anxiety of a nation who knows what's at stake here, instinctively or because they're paying attention. It's really disgusting to me to see New York City turning this way, considering all the people we know. Everybody in here has been affected and touched with a friend who, one person removed. To see this, what's going on here in New York City, it couldn't be more disappointing.
Yeah, as I said, the choice in New York City was not a good one. So, Delgado, what are your thoughts tonight?
Let's see. I'm looking for two outcomes. Basically, we're kind of seeding, I guess, New York City at this point, right? We're kind of saying it looks like a lost cause. You never know what could happen. The governor's race in New Jersey, I still think that's the one. If the polls are all saying, oh, it's dead even, they're probably shorting Citarelli. So I'm hoping that that's the case, and he comes out with a 4 or 5 point win. That'd be huge.
Yeah.
And then of course the AG race down in Virginia, if they can get that vote to split because of the psychopath who wants to see dead bodies of kids, I think the choice there is pretty easy.
And of course, on a night like tonight, you have to think, Republicans here, they are trying to perform in places, states that obviously you would think are pretty solid Democrat states. Obviously, things are shifting, but you're also trying to perform in states where obviously Republicans right now control all levers of the White House and Congress. So it's always an uphill battle. And again, the Democratic spin machine tonight is going to take any win as a political earthquake, and I think we all know that going in. Even when you look at things like in Virginia, some of the questions, if Spanberger wins, some of the questions would be, what's the margin? What's the margin of victory? There's a lot of people I heard talk about if she doesn't, anything less than Ralph Norman's 2017 margin of victory, which is around 9%, is actually not a great sign for Democrats there. So there's a lot of nuance here to look at as well. But let me go out to California. There's a lot going on in California, talking about stealing elections. In redistricting. That is the big on the ballot in California. Let me bring in the great Ben Bergquam from Real America's Voice, who is out there. And Ben, welcome on in. Voters decide on this.
Hey, thank you guys.
Yeah, this independent commission to adopt the Democrat maps, potentially flipping 10 GOP House seats for 2026. Ben, welcome on in. Tell us your thoughts on the night and what's going on in California. Is there any question? This is obviously going to pass. Is it just a matter of by how much?
Well, let me bring in Fresno County Supervisor Nathan Magzig, and then we'll talk. So this is our No on 50 crowd out here. By the way, who loves Gavin Newsom? Nobody. Even the Democrats don't like him. He's such a slime ball. All right, Nathan, talk to us about the election tonight, the significance of it, and as a county board of supervisors, what it means for the county.
Yeah, so I'll tell you right here in Fresno County, we go from having 4 Congress people to 6. Now, that sounds good, but it's not, because it actually dilutes our representation. And here in California, we go from 9 Republican congressmen down to literally 4. And so our voices are not being heard here in California. I look at when Trump got reelected last year, and when he got elected with about 40% of the vote. Yet we're going to go from representation around 18% here in California down to like 8%. And that is absolutely not fair. So Prop 50 is a huge scam. What it does is it really reduces the voice of the Republicans and the conservatives that are still here in California.
And that's everyone that you see behind me here. Patriots in the Central Valley. I just want to kind of go over here and talk some Molly. So as a patriot in the Valley, you look at what they're doing. And this is basically, everyone who's out there watching, what Gavin Newsom's doing now is basically an extension of the No Kings. Everyone who's voting yes on 50 is basically voting against President Trump for nonsense reasons. But to you as a local resident, when you think that Fresno County is going to be basically controlled by some of the county by San Jose, how does that make you feel?
It makes me feel terrible. This is ridiculous. They're robbing us of our representation, and we voted for this, for the Independent Citizens Commission 2 other times. So this is the 3rd time it's on the ballot. We all know Gavin Newsom is just doing this so he can be the presidential nominee for the Democrats. And this is just completely unacceptable. It's a waste of money. We have fire victims who, they still don't have a place to live. It's just terrible, the mismanagement and the corruption and just the rot in this state. Somebody needs to do something. Vote no on 50.
And you still have time to do that. Polls close at 8 o'clock. Anyone else want to jump in real quick? We're going to be coming back out here. Anyone else want to jump in on the conversation? Really, Josh?
Yeah, I'd say, this vote today is just taking the power away from we the people. And that's something I know Trump's been fighting for, to return the power back to we the people. And it gives us less vote power here in Clovis, California.
Well, there you have it, guys. We're going to keep talking to the folks here. The polls are still open. There's a massive line, one of the polling places here in Clovis, California, massive line around the building. So hopefully that's a good sign, because this is more of a conservative area. But so far the numbers aren't looking good. The early vote, 51% Democrat turnout, or 51% were Democrat votes or voters, 27% Republican to 21% independent. Unless we get a massive day of turnout, It's not looking great, and unfortunately what that means is 5 less Republicans in the House, this is what it's all about. It's about 2026. They want to take over the House and the Senate. They want to impeach President Trump. They want to put you and I and all of us back in jail. This is, the lawfare that we've seen before. That's basically what all of this boils down to.
All right, the great Ben Bergquam in California on Prop 50. Obviously, we'll see what happens there. Does not look great. I'll tell you where else it does not look great. We may have our first call. I think we do have our first call of the night, and I don't know if we have Mark Serrano available, but it is in Virginia, and it looks like the race has been called for Abigail Spanberger already, projected to win the Virginia governor's race.
What time is it?
Yes, it's
with,
7.
with 4% in, Damon, they call it 4%.
Well, I think when you look at these things, they know where the votes are coming from, and they make these calls. Mark Serrano, let me go to you. I know you're down there. If this is in fact the call, you look at the GOP in Virginia. You look at Winsome Sears as a candidate. The GOP did not have an actual primary, so some say this was kind of mucked up from the beginning. You look at Sears taking a vacation in August, firing her campaign manager in late July, August. I don't think there's a Republican in Virginia you would talk to and say that this campaign wasn't somewhat wonky. And here we have a race being called at 727. Looks like it could be a 10, 11-point win. Give me your thoughts.
Yeah, so of course only 4% reporting from Decision Desk HQ, Damon. But once we take a look at the data, I'm sure we'll learn that there is some Republican area that has gone heavily more towards the Democrats, and that it's a bad sign for Winsome Sears. So obviously we've got to have one of the big outlets call this race before we should consider it done with only 4% in. But let me just comment about sort of this wonky race, as you said. If this is a loss by Winsome Sears, I lay this at the feet of Glenn Youngkin.
Mm-hmm.
Glenn Youngkin, the incumbent governor who won off the coattails of the parents' rights movement in Loudoun County, Virginia in 2021. He picked Winsome Sears. He picked effectively an anti-Trump candidate. And this candidate, Winsome Sears,
Bingo.
Although she was head and shoulders above her opponent as a candidate for office, she never embraced Donald Trump and the MAGA voters. Why would MAGA get off their couch and come and vote for her like they did in record numbers, especially low propensity voters like they did in 2024? Britt, I don't think this is terribly surprising. Obviously, we've got to get an official call on this, but so far, Decision Desk HQ says this race is over.
I think you guys were on the money to call all the problems with her campaign. I mean, Abigail Spanberger was everywhere, whether you are a Republican or a Democrat. I mean, I'm sure you can concur. You heard about her campaign. Winsome Earl Sears was limping through everything. There wasn't a lot of publicity. There wasn't a lot of press. Losing parts of your campaign will do that. And when President Donald Trump, for good reason, will not endorse you by name the night or two before the election, yes, why on the day of would MAGA voters turn out? And I think that's what we're seeing.
And you've got to be a pretty bad candidate to lose to Abigail Spanberger. To me, she is like the love child, the political love child of former Governor Ralph Northam, who instructed us about post-birth abortion, and Kamala Harris, the queen of word salad and getting stuck in the headlights. If you recall that debate between Spanberger and Winsome Sears, where she had nothing to say when she was questioned about her policies on transgenders in schools.
Yep.
All right, guys, thanks very much. We'll get back to you. Again, the Virginia governor race has been called for Abigail Spanberger. MTG is with us, and he brought up the part of Glenn. I'll give you a chance to talk about the race overall, but he brought up the part of Glenn Youngkin, and I guess people in Virginia could speak to this more, but when you look at all the fanfare he got when taking office, and you look at now leaving office after 4 years, is there a policy legacy there? Is there a legislative legacy there for Glenn Youngkin? What are your thoughts?
I'm going to tell you what just happened is the government has been shut down, and many federal government employees live in Virginia, and they literally just elected one of their own from the deep state. Abigail Spanberger is of the CIA, and that's exactly who she is. And I'll put the blame on both Democrats and Republicans in the Senate. I've been calling for over a month now for the Republicans in the Senate to grow a spine and use the nuclear option, override the filibuster, and reopen the government. But they wouldn't do it. And now I'm so thankful to President Trump because he is demanding that they do it. And here's what they did. They kept the government shut down, and so Abigail Spanberger get to campaign all over the place while we're not in Washington working. They literally gave her time off to do it, and then they gave all these federal government workers in Virginia time off of work to sit home and go out there and vote like they have never voted before. We are Republican majority in the House and the Senate, and I put a lot of this blame on them that they allowed these federal workers to show up in force like this, and it makes me sick. Because I am a Republican member of Congress, and I'm disgusted that we are not working in Washington delivering the agenda that you all voted for, because that's absolutely what we should be doing. And that's how I see this governor's race in Virginia. I will follow up with, we should have had an America First, unapologetic MAGA candidate for a governor candidate in Virginia. And, that's unacceptable going forward. And I really hope, I'm going to beg of you all, demand every Republican candidate from here on out, they better be America first. And I mean it. And they better not ever back down from that.
So can I ask you quickly, because I have talked on the show how much that I have not agreed with you on the nuclear option, and I'm interested now that you're here to ask you, why would you want to take Russ Vought off the playing field? When I think of Russ Vought, I think that he has like a brain like an Excel spreadsheet, that he has waited for this moment of government shutdown and how to get these RIFs to actually reduce this behemoth of a government we have. Why the nuclear option to kind of take him off the playing field? I never really understood that.
I'm a great fan of Russ, but here's the thing. President Trump will be a temporary president. If you don't use your Congress, if you don't use the House and the Senate to pass his executive orders and bills so that Trump can sign them into law, then you empower Russ Vought to do everything, it's all temporary. It literally means nothing. All you people that campaigned and worked hard to get the president in office, I spent 5 years on the road, millions of my own dollars. Brian lived on the road, went to every single rally. That means all of our work is in vain. So if you sideline Congress, the legislative branch that is by the Constitution set in place to make laws, if you sideline Congress and leave everything up to Russ Vought, then it can all be knocked down in court. And we know the courts have been taken over by the Democrats because George Soros has supported all these judicial candidates. Look, I'm all for Russ Vought. I'm as conservative as you can get, and I fully support him. But I want our agenda into law. Yeah. I don't want it to be able to be temporary.
All right, great stuff. MTG, Brian Glenn with us. We'll get more of them, the boys from Live from Studio 6B. And, of course, we have the A-team across the country. We'll get to the great John Solomon. We'll bring him in here to see what he thinks about the night. The call already in Virginia. 1 down, many to go. New York City takes the spotlight at 9 p.m. Election coverage right here, Real America's Voice. We'll take you through midnight. Steve Bannon will take it over at 9 o'clock. We'll take you right up to then. We're back right after this.
Nice. Good answer, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
How was your trip to The View today?
So
I'm great.
Let's get an audience thing going here.
How was The View
so,
today?
Harry, we'll do Kev.
The View, how was that?
Yeah, we'll do Steve.
I think it went well.
Did it?
Right?
I
I
didn't
was
see
speaking
anything.
to their viewing
Okay.
audience.
Are they going to do it right there?
People that watch their show, they need to hear our ideas.
Yeah, good for you for going on there.
Thank you.
I was going to say brass, but I was going to say steel spine.
I'm used to taking these out. I can't.
That's why I'm drinking Red Bull.
Denver, anything from you?
Right
I'm going to do.
Were they civil?
Yeah, very much so.
We have a Long Island, Suffolk County Executive, Steve Levy's here, so we're going to do something with him, and then where do you want? I'm going to go to Solomon.
Got your Red Bull.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's been a long day.
Long day.
Okay. Okay.
Checking my Georgia races.
California's interesting, though. But we spent 5 days out there.
Okay.
And
All three or just Amen?
there's a lot of MAGA.
Yeah. Okay. And then, what are we doing? Question, comment, what is it? Okay.
Wear a suit.
What's that?
I love it.
What's that?
I'm like looking at you in awe. Wear a suit.
Put on a suit.
Put on a suit.
Well, I gotta go. Yeah, I can.
Well,
write
iconic,
on
dude.
that.
Well, Brian, that's
They,
why I
they
wore
were
the.
mugging me hard when
That's
they
why.
came back.
That's
too.
why I wore this jacket tonight because I don't
was
want you to
gonna say, it
browbeat
looks
me.
Nice.
Have you
I'm like, oh, last thing I need is rented.
I rented mine.
have you been? Election coverage, Real America's Voice, Tuesday, November 4th, election night here in America. Real America's Voice will take you 7 to midnight. Live from Studio 6B, the boys are here. Brian Glenn is here. MTG, Marjorie Taylor Greene, is joining us here at the America First Warehouse, where we've got a room full of patriots, and we're always excited to be here. Joe the Box and his staff always so welcoming, and we always appreciate him having us here. We've got the A-team on the ground: David Zier, Mike Crispy, Cliff Maloney, Ben Berkwam, Mark Serrano, Britt McHenry, Grant Stinchfield, covering everything going on the ground around the country. We'll get to all of them. I want to thank all of our sponsors who make this night possible. AMAC. Go to amac.us/election right now. You can receive a 1-year membership. 1 year for how much, Damon? That'd be $1. Don't wait. American needs you. Go to amac.us/election. Of course, our friends at the Wellness Company. You can get American-made ivermectin at a price you can't beat at twc.health/voice. And our friends from Patriot Mobile. Patriot Mobile, America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. Make the switch today. Our friends at Patriot Mobile, so I want to thank all of our sponsors who make this night possible. We are at the America First Warehouse, and like I said, we have a room full of patriots. Kevin Downey Jr. and Slick Rick are going to talk to him all night long. Kevin Downey Jr. has former Suffolk County Executive Steve Levy with him. Let's welcome him to the show. Welcome, Kevin Downey Jr. Kev, take it away.
Thank you, Big D. Thank you. Yep, Patriot Steve here has got a question for Representative Greene. Take it away, buddy.
Hi, Marjorie.
Hi.
So let's assume that Marxist Mamdani wins today in New York. Obviously, he can wreak havoc on a city that's already reeling from horrible blue city Democratic policies. But I have to assume that from a purely political perspective, you have to be licking your chops that this guy is now going to be the face of the Democratic Party going forward. What kind of an impact do you think that's going to have on the midterms next year?
Well, I think that's what a lot of Republicans are banking on, is to have a new bad guy to run against, and for Democrats to be exposed for the real policies that they've always really wanted. We watched mainstream Democrats from across the board endorse Mamdani here lately, and as he's expressed all of the government subsidized programs he's planning to provide. It's going to be interesting to watch it real time if he does win and becomes mayor. How will the city council work with him? Will they fully support it and go all in to...
They're more Marxist than he is, by the way, just so you know.
Okay, well then it's going to be rough. Well, I'll just say this: if you're a business owner and you have wealth and you live in New York City, I have a beautiful district, but you're only allowed to move there if you're a Republican. And I'm how I feel about it is I actually don't want to see the people of New York City suffer. I don't want to see that city fall into chaos or be bankrupted by communist policies. That's the human side of me, but it will expose the Democrat Party, and we'll see what happens with it.
Thank you. I mean, it's not like he's going to be the first Marxist elected nationwide. I mean, Chicago has a Marxist mayor in Brandon Johnson.
Yep.
Seattle has a Marxist mayor. You know, Karen Bass in Los Angeles, is she any different? So they really are now, it's a socialist party, the Democratic Party. And whatever moderates were there, they're either going along or they're too scared to fight it, and it's really now the Republicans against the Marxists is what it's coming down to.
Well, and never forget, they weaponize power. Right now, today, in Colorado, Tina Peters is in prison, and that is unacceptable. And this is what we are still living in. So even though You know, we have the President Trump, and we have full power in the House and the Senate. We still see this weaponized government across the country, and this is a Gold Star mom and a great patriot that fought for our elections. So you're right. We've already seen this experiment, and we know exactly what it brings.
Yeah, right. Thank you,
Thank
Patriot
you.
Steve. Back to you, Big D.
Very good, Kevin Downey Jr. You know, Brian, Steve Levy brings up other examples. But the difference for me, though, is the Islamification of this guy. This guy is not just a communist. He is a Marxist jihadist in New York City. And quite frankly, in my opinion, what this guy... You know, this guy's not that smart. And one of the things about the media, he goes on, he gets posed as this like Obama-esque kind of smart, very articulate kind of guy. And he doesn't, to me, he comes across as a used car salesman. Yeah. And he uses the left kind of as a Trojan horse, and, you know, to sneak in kind of like the pro-Muslim policies that really have nothing to do with equality that he likes to stand up and scream about. It's really more about power and takeover. You know, and so like he acts like he's for affordable housing, workers' rights. But for me, the difference in the examples that Steve Levy brought up is the real gig for this guy is promoting Islamification of New York, one sly move at a time. What do you think about that?
I agree. And I think that's one of the greatest threats we have to our country is that. We look at what's happening in London. I was just in the UK with the president on the visit to the King, and I would talk to a lot of people who live there. That country and that city particularly is unrecognizable from what is transformed in London from kind of a Muslim takeover. Now, look, you know, this is the greatest country in the world. We don't want to absolutely say that you're not welcome here. This country was founded on immigrants. We can all agree with that. But our founding fathers right now are rolling over in their grave to see what's happening in some of the greatest cities of the world, and Christianity is just being pushed aside, and they're trying to develop their own rule of government in U.S. cities. Take a look at London. Go walk on the streets and see what you find.
Yeah.
You cannot find someone who was almost born, raised, and brought up a family in London. It is predominantly immigrants.
Yeah.
Like I said, nothing wrong with that. I'm not being xenophobic here.
No, not even
but there is something to be said about keeping your culture.
What could be done about that with Sharia law and that culture does not mix with the American culture? What could be done about that from a legal standpoint, where can someone codify some form of law that this is never acceptable here? Can anything like that be done without, or is everyone just petrified to be labeled an Islamophobic? Or, you know, because everyone just puts that pejorative on you, and then you're labeled, and you know better than anybody. You've been I have so much admiration. You stood up to all of it. So what could be done?
Well, number one, the law of the land is our United States Constitution. So there can be no law above that. So Sharia law cannot go above our laws, our United States Constitution. And I don't think we'll ever see that in America. And I don't think the people of America will allow that. And but you know, there are bills that can be introduced. I think there's one that's been introduced in the House. I don't know. I haven't been to work in a while. By the way, I'm not taking a paycheck, you guys.
That's right.
I do want you to know that. I will not take a paycheck.
But that was an option, though.
Oh yeah, no.
That was an option for her to take a paycheck.
Good point, Brian. So just so you know, we get paid no matter what unless we tell the clerk of the House not to pay us. So I don't know the list of my colleagues that are still receiving paychecks.
Let's get that list real quick.
But I'm not. That'd be great.
We're going to read another list on the air tonight.
So you don't think Mondami is going to be grinning all the way to his Sharia compliant city hall?
My goodness, who knows what he's going to do, right?
Yeah,
I think that's it. It's a wide open door, and no one really knows what's coming.
Yeah, and real quick, Marjorie, what about the fact that all these judges seem to, side with the people who go up, who put things that are against the Constitution? We see it across the country. They're trying to run the country, beat the president through judgeships. And they're more than happy to go along to get along because, I don't want to be labeled this and I don't want to be labeled that. Right, exactly. So why wouldn't they just play along? Because we've seen these leftist judges, they'll just do their, they'll just let it right through.
You're right, and that's where the real danger is we're seeing it through the courts. The courts are actually overthrowing our Constitution.
Right.
Yeah.
And these judges have more power than I do. They can weigh, okay, there's an important case happening in the Supreme Court tomorrow, actually. And Secretary Bessent is going personally to this case because they're going to weigh whether President Trump's tariffs are constitutional or not.
Right.
And I've been supporting President Trump and the tariff policies. I think it's incredibly important that we have reciprocal trade and that our American companies are treated fairly. But we may see the Supreme Court weigh in tomorrow and completely undo that. And I think that'll be historic tomorrow. So I agree with you on the courts.
Yeah. Let me get the great John Solomon in here. Let's go live to Washington, D.C. Of course, you see him every day on Just the News, No Noise, the CEO and editor-in-chief of Just the News, the great John Solomon. Mr. Solomon, how are you? Welcome to the coverage.
Good. Yeah, good to be there with all the guys in the American Warehouse.
It's great to have you, as always. I'm sure you've heard a lot of what we've already talked about. Looks like we have a call in Virginia. Just to bring you up to date there, Abigail Spanberger right now, 56% of the vote. 483,511 to Winsome Sears, 43.8%, 378,000. So, John, what are you looking for the rest of the night? What does this night mean for the Republicans, for President Trump? Give me your thoughts.
Well, I think there's some lessons, and I think the race to look at is the one that Congresswoman Green pointed out, the Jason Maurer Attorney General race. You're seeing a significant phenomenon of ticket splitting right now in Virginia. There's about a 40,000 vote, 10% vote difference between what Abigail Spanberger is getting and what Jay Jones is getting, and about a 6% improvement of Jason Maurer over what Winsome Sears is getting. And that is a sign that his strategy worked. He talked more about the economy. He embraced President Trump fully. And of course, he rode the coattails of repudiating his Democratic opponent's hateful speech. So will Maurer win? I don't know. It's about a 10, 11-point race right now. That's hard to overcome. But the ticket splitting is a really strong sign. And it's a message that Republicans need to take into account as they go into 2026. You can't run from your commander-in-chief. You can't run from the America First agenda and try to run as a Republican in a general election. It doesn't work. That's the lesson of Winsome Sears. But Jason Maurer embraced President Trump. He leaned into his Democrat opponent's hateful language and really hit him hard. He was on air more effectively, I think, than Winsome Sears. And there's going to be some learning and hope for Republicans. No matter whether Maurer wins or not, he's shown that you can outperform the top of the ticket by doing the things that got Donald Trump elected just a year ago.
Well, John, let me bring you some numbers here in the Attorney General race. I don't know the last ones you saw, but right now what I'm showing is 51% to 48.6. So it is tight. I see about less than 30,000 vote difference right now in Virginia for Attorney General. But let me ask you broader in Virginia, John. Obviously, as Congresswoman Green brought up before, there's a lot of uniquely local headwinds. Obviously, you have this enclave of federal workers, the government shutdown. Do we look back in 21 and just say that that was perfect conditions and a candidate who was kind of custom made at the time?
Oh, sure.
Okay, give me your thoughts on that. Yeah.
Yeah, listen, Winsome Sears is no Glenn Youngkin. The dynamic of 21 was much different. We had just gone through the embarrassment of Afghanistan. We were starting to get the shock of seeing men on the women's sports podium medal winning, and Youngkin hit the right moment, and he ran a good early get-out-the-vote operation. I think the early get-out-the-vote operation lagged in Virginia compared to 2021. And I think in this case, Sears was just a lesser candidate. She just didn't have command. She didn't have the ability to respond. She left herself in some awkward positions that made great political attack ads, which Glenn Youngkin didn't. Now, Maurer ran a stronger candidate. A lot of people I know in Virginia wish that Jason Maurer was the gubernatorial nominee this time around. And, of course, we'll armchair quarterback that for the next 4 years. But I do think that the lessons of Glenn Youngkin, he was a perfect sort of storm moment for the Republicans. Virginia's an increasingly blue state. And until they shrink the size of government, which Congress has failed to do effectively thus far, Virginia is going to be a deep blue northern district, hard to overcome with the rest of the state. And I think sometime soon, you're going to see the western side of Virginia start talking about what the counties in Oregon are talking about which is joining Idaho in leaving Oregon and shrinking Oregon's influence in Congress. I wouldn't be surprised if that conversation begins soon in Western Virginia. Western Virginia has nothing in common with the northern part of the state anymore, and they're much more in common with West Virginia. So I think you may see some of these secession movements, state-to-state secession movements, pick up as the reality of what Virginia has become compared to what it was 20 years ago sinks in on people.
And John, just quickly, you look at Democrats, obviously couldn't win elections, so they've tried to import voters over the last 4 years. Then they stole the election of 2020, and now they're gerrymandering to kind of steal the House. And how do you think this Prop 50 works out? And how much of a problem, when you look at Indiana, they seem to throw their hands up and say, well, maybe we're too pure to really tackle this. What is your view as far as gerrymandering and how that's going to affect next year?
No. Both sides were doing it, so it wasn't like, Texas started it. Texas started it because they were told by the Justice Department they were not in compliance with a federal court of appeals ruling. California started it simply to punish Texas. The one wild card that I don't think we talk enough about is that at some point, the Trump Justice Department and Harmeet Dillon are going to have the ability to go to court and say that what California has done is unlawful. It is political retribution and not reapportionment for the purpose of proper representation. And they're probably going to win on some of those arguments because the ballot that my colleague Amanda Head got clearly stated, we're just doing this because Texas do it. I think that's going to get the attention of the court. But between those 2 points, when the challenges occur, the Louisiana apportionment case is going to be decided by the Supreme Court. I don't think that people are taking into account what could happen in the federal court system next spring, summer, and fall that could thwart some of the Democratic gerrymandering and say, hey, what Texas did is more in line with the court's law and view on this, and what California did was pure political retribution. You could see some court intervention that could be to the benefit of Republicans, but the ultimate way Republicans are going to win is by doing what they said they were going to do, which Congress has been slow to do. And Marjorie Taylor Greene is exactly right. The Congress has done about a third of what Donald Trump promised the Republicans were doing. Donald Trump's done it all. The Congress has failed to make it permanent, and they haven't leaned into economic populism the last 6 months, which I think is a failure. They've been talking about everything but economic populism. That's where Republicans are going to win the next election, if they get back to that messaging.
Yeah, very good. Congresswoman Greene, has the congressional GOP lost its ideological coherence and strategic will here by being pretty much out to sleep?
Absolutely. Let's talk about health insurance premiums. This has been an utter failure. Democrats passed Obamacare in 2010. It took effect in 2014. I know my family of 5, our health insurance premiums went from $800 a month to over $2,400 a month. That was more than our mortgage. That was in 2014. And then we saw all these health insurance companies get kicked out of the market, and healthcare prices have done nothing but go up and up and up, while the quality of care went down, down, down. And then again, Democrats in 2021, it was under Nancy Pelosi, by the way, they passed the ACA tax credits in 2021, and they were the ones that set the expiration date to end this year. Well, here's my issue with my own party. Republicans have done nothing to fix it. They tried one time repeal and replace, and we'll never forget McCain, thumbs down on that. But Republicans didn't go back out on the playing field and get out there and fight again. And let me tell you something, this could affect people in this room. These health insurance premiums are going to skyrocket. And in January, they are going to be nearly double and be completely unaffordable for so many Americans. And I personally think that is extremely wrong, and the Republican Party is failing to fix it. It is our job. We are the ones that have control of the House, the Senate, and the White House right now. We are leading this country, and to sit on the sidelines and sit at home, not meeting in person every single day in Washington, coming up with the greatest ideas to reduce the cost of health care and health insurance premiums is an utter failure to our own voters. And I think there will be a referendum on us in the election in 2026. But John is right. This is economics. This is about your bank account. This is about the bills that you are paying. This is about the affordability of life. And I believe, as a business owner for over 20 years, I believe in serving my customer, but you guys aren't just my customer. You're actually my employer. And I really want my colleagues to get to work and fix this.
Oh, yeah.
Let me just push back on you for just a second on this, because when I think of healthcare, and you blame the Republicans now, and I get why you do it, because there's no vision in the Republican Party, but realistically, when you look at this, don't we have to go back to 2013 and say the real problem was back then? You had Ted Cruz, you had Mike Lee. They both understood that how unpopular the bill was for the first 2 years it was out. It won us more seats than any other piece of legislation ever. And Ted Cruz stood on the Senate floor for, I think, 20-something hours and filibustered and said, we're going to leverage. They tried to do then what Democrats are doing right now. They took a bill, they took the budget, and they said, we're going to leverage this and tell people that this is unaffordable. This is destroying not only jobs, but your personal liberty. And we need to leverage that government shutdown in 2013 to get some concessions and try to repeal this thing and gut this thing. And what did Republicans do at the time? They went after Cruz and Lee and said, you're wasting your time. Mitch McConnell, Kelly Ayotte, all these people, they attacked the Republicans at the time. And once the government got involved, and they knew this at the time, and started subsidizing it, it's like stabbing somebody and then giving them morphine and then say, you really got to get off the morphine. Well, why don't you stop stabbing me first? That was really our chance to snub this out back then. So to blame Republicans now, the Democrats today run and say, oh, healthcare is unaffordable and it's their fault. And their macro messaging is the same as ours, but it's what they did in 2011 and 2013 and what Republicans couldn't do is why it's so expensive now. So really, is the full blame, should it be on the Republicans now?
No, I didn't say the full blame is on the Democrats, but the blame is on the Republicans for not fixing it. And I think that's incredibly important. It's like, someone steals your car and drives it down the street and wrecks it. Well, we're blaming them for wrecking the car, but if the car sits there, sitting up against someone's house and no one ever cleans up the mess, well, you know what? Somebody should clean up that mess, and it's our job to clean it up. And that's how I see leadership. It's a serious responsibility. You don't sit in your corner and just point fingers at the other side, the one that caused the mess. You get in there, you pick up the broom, you clean up the mess, and you make the house livable for those that live in there. And that's what I think we really should be doing. There's a lot of ideas. Listen, there's so many ideas. We could empower people to be able to come together in groups, associations, and that way they can lower health insurance premiums. Costco, Amazon, those are massive. They could offer health insurance premiums, and that would be extremely low because there's so many members in those two companies. We could also kick this back to the states.
Absolutely.
And this could go back to the states. I'm a big believer in federalism. And then we could see states handle it, not the federal government.
Right. That's really where it needs to.
Price transparency, let me just say that loud and clear. You all should know for a fact if you're going in, whether it's heart surgery, a knee replacement, you're going in for, a boob job, whatever it is, you should be able to know top to bottom how much this is going to cost. You shouldn't go into the hospital and just receive never-ending bills and have no idea when they're going to stop. And we're all victims of this. And so, you want to know what? I blame the Democrats. They created this monster, but I blame Republicans because we are not even in. Look, I'm sitting here with you guys in New York. You want to know why? Mike Johnson says don't come and don't show up at work. But I'm so against that. We should be in Washington fixing this because you want to know when the prices go up? January 1. January 1 is when everybody gets hit, and everyone's getting their notifications right now, and it's open enrollment, and it started November 1st.
All right, we will talk about more health care with Marjorie Taylor Greene, Brian Glenn, all here at the America First Warehouse. Let me get out to Grant Stinchfield, though. He is in Texas, and I know Grant wanted to weigh in on what's going on in California. He is obviously very familiar with what's going on Prop 50. Grant, tell me what you thought about what you've heard so far and what you heard Ben Burke while I'm out in California.
Yeah. It's interesting because we have the redistricting here in Texas, which is so important. And yet when you look at what's going on in California, when you read the actual proposition, it is so outrageous. It will be ripe to go in front of a federal judge to say, hey, this was not just bias, but it was liberal lunacy. They say things like President Trump stealing the election in reaction to Texas trying to steal seats in the House. I've never seen anything like this written in a proposition that's now going to go as a constitutional amendment before the voters. But to piggyback on what Marjorie was saying, and the problem with Republicans, If you think Republicans in this country have a problem with messaging and not latching on to being able to get to the heart of people's emotions, try going to California. You know, I do morning drive radio in Los Angeles, so I've got to live this every day. When Republicans messaged Prop 50, which was this redistricting constitutional amendment to add 5 more Democrat seats in California, Republicans messaged it as pushback against Gavin Newsom. This is Gavin Newsom's power grab. That's not going to work in California. Gavin Newsom knew that making it about Trump would work in California, but we're wildly outnumbered. I had written a commercial that says Democrats had been duped by the MAGA crowd in Washington, a Republican Trojan horse designed to take away your power. Now, I know I'm stretching the truth on that, but that kind of out-of-the-box thinking on a commercial would work better than the old pushback against Gavin Newsom. The people love Gavin Newsom because they're blind liberal zombies being led off a cliff and they cannot even realize it. So I will say for the first time in 4 years, we had a town hall, Salem Media, out in Orange County, and we get about 600-700 people coming out there. For the first time in 4 years, I had people coming up to me in California telling me they're leaving. Now, you had liberals leaving for years that didn't understand why they were leaving and going to places like Tennessee and Texas and Arizona. But now you had the strong conservatives that were staying and fighting. Now they're saying they're out. California is a hellhole. And you know what? Just like New York City now. That's my home city. It's going to fall into absolute hellhole despair with this Mamdani winning. And to all of my friends at the America First Warehouse, and Damon, you're one of them, New York City is going to get what it deserves. And in some respects, if New Yorkers vote Mamdani in, you get what you deserve. And I hope, I don't want to say that I hope it goes totally south, but there's part of me that says it deserves to go totally south. So maybe there'll be a wake up after all of it. Because California has not really woken up. The liberals are not making a change out there. Prop 50 will fail today. Prop 50 will go through. The no on Prop 50 will fail. But same as New York. New York has to wake up. And it's so upsetting to see this, what's happening on both coasts. And like middle America is ignored, but man, middle America is where it's at. And I'm so happy to live in the heartland of this country because this, guys, is America. And yes, I'm standing in the middle of Texas in a little town called North Richland Hills where everybody's conservative here.
Well, you're absolutely right, Grant. And like I've said on this show for as long as I've done it, if we can't make red states as red as they can make blue states blue, we're in trouble. It almost sometimes doesn't matter what happens on the federal level. We have to create permanent bastions of conservative fighters in red states. But Brian Glenn and MTG are here, and I know you guys, you spent some time in California recently. And
the last 4 or 5 days we've been in Southern California. I lived in Newport Beach for about 12 years, and we went out there to do the Bill Maher show. And from the point we landed at John Wayne Airport there in Orange County, we got nothing but keep fighting. We love you. Please help us. I mean, there's a lot of patriots in Southern California. So that's Orange County. And I kind of expect that there.
Sounds like they're trapped.
But on Halloween, we were invited to a party in Beverly Hills, a very kind of a high-profile individual. Over 400 people at this party, this massive house, Beverly Hills. Almost every single person came up to us and said, please, save our country. What can we do? We're in trouble. There is so many patriots out there. They're tired of California, but there's not enough of them to make a difference. But they're there. And Margie, you can share some of the comments that you got. People that said, I would have never voted for you until you started talking about this topic, and all of a sudden, that's how you bring people together to come on a common topic and solve problems. It's not the finger pointing, but share, if you will, some of the comments you had at these parties, and just really spending 4 days going to restaurants, gas stations, grocery store, you name it. They're out there. They love President Trump and they love the Republican Party. There's just not enough of them.
No, there's not enough of them. They're basically overwhelmed. One thing we did see, Brian, over and over again, is we saw the vote yes on Prop 50 signs everywhere.
Yeah, they did
So
a
that-
horrible job marketing vote no.
Yeah,
Horrible
we
job.
didn't see any vote no signs, and that was actually really disappointing. And I'm sure, I don't blame Republicans in California. I think they're some of the greatest patriots in the country because they fight nonstop against a Democrat machine they cannot overcome. And I don't think their elections are clean. I'll go ahead and jump out there. You can say I'm a conspiracy theorist, whatever. I don't care. I think they.
Welcome to the party, pal.
Oh, thank you.
You're in good company here.
Oh, thank you.
Go ahead and.
Happy to be with fellow conspiracy theorists.
I got a gray tin hat I can give you later.
Oh, good. I love all the styles. So, but no, we were very disappointed. There was no signs for no Prop 50.
We didn't see one
Didn't
single
see
sign.
one,
and I mean, not one.
even in Republican areas, we
Yeah.
didn't see that. But no, we had a lot of people came up, and they were so kind. Even Democrat voters and independents came up to me, and they thanked me for talking about issues of affordability and health insurance, and those are the issues that really matter to Americans. I believe that's the one lane that we can start pulling Americans together on is the issues that we all share. And that's the fact that every cost of living is high, and it's because of the Biden administration. Under Joe Biden in 2022, we saw inflation hit 9%. Worse, I mean, it was the worst inflation since Jimmy Carter. Please don't blame me because I'm from Georgia. But that was a real problem. But that's what drove the cost of living. And in California, they feel it bad. I think the gas price was $4.69.
That was on the cheap side. The
That
average
was on
is
the
about
cheap
over
side.
$5 for sure. And property taxes. I mean, if you talk about property taxes, insane in California.
I don't know how they do it.
I don't know how they
do
live.
not
I mean,
know
that's
how
one of the
they
reasons
do
why I
it.
moved out.
And really, to jump on what you guys were saying about California, I mean, Damon's been saying this since we joined the show, is that California has been our biggest
numbers.
audience
Yeah.
by far
The
for
number
this
one
show.
view,
Yeah.
the number one
so we
viewing
know they're out
audience
there.
of this show for for a long time. When we were on social media back in 2015, 16, 17, 18, the number one viewing audience of this show was California. And we saw it. We were all remember 2016, 2020. Even people here on Long Island, they go, oh, you're in New York, when are you moving out? And I go, no, we're in Long Island. We're in Suffolk County. This is not New York City. It is a big difference. We got no place to go. We're quite comfortable here. This is Trump country in Suffolk County. This is not New York City. So I want to get to Kevin Downey Jr. Speaking of Patriots, we are here live at the America First Warehouse, and Kevin Downey Jr. is here, and he has a very familiar face, Patriot, that most of you out there in Real America's Voice World. Kevin, who you got?
Thank you, Damon. We've got the one and only Brandon Strzok with us tonight, ladies and gentlemen. The man who invented Walk Away. A patriotic J6er. Brandon, thanks so much for coming by. Really appreciate it. What would you like to throw out to the stage here?
Well, I do have a question for Marjorie, but can I ask the audience a question first? Who here believes that we can defeat Zoran Mamdani? I want to know. I would have liked a little more energy, but you guys, we can do it. I've been on the ground for 5 months with our Defeat Mamdani movement, and I'm telling you, we have talked to all types of New Yorkers, college kids, racial minorities, going to all 5 boroughs, doing rallies, debates. I'm telling you, there is a peak interest, and people are going to come out, I think, and vote in record numbers against Zoran Mamdani, so don't think we can't do it. But speaking of going into enemy territory and having tough conversations, I wanted to tell you, Marjorie, I was so proud of you today watching you on The View. I thought you were spectacular. No, really, really, really spectacular. And, you know, I loved what you said about people wanting you to go on and kind of have that, like, back and forth and kind of that catty energy. I'm so glad that you didn't. And, I mean, I really just wanted to say you were so eloquent, you were so sophisticated, you were so charming, and you made me really proud. And I just wanted to let you know that. You made us all proud. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandon.
That's all I wanted to say.
I honestly really appreciate that. And, you know, it's easy to go in and have a fight with the left. I mean, that's what everyone expects. But really, honestly and truly, I think it's about getting across our views and our policies, not only to them, but their listening audience. And we're all Americans, and my greatest hope is we can truly overcome the differences no matter how hard they have been. And I think you experienced some really hard ones.
Yeah.
And I know you did, and you and other people that were really persecuted from January 6th. And my heart is always with you guys. But I think it's, I'm a Christian, so it's really, I have to be obedient to that. And Jesus tells us to pray for our enemies, forgive our enemies, even when they're not asking for it. And I think we have to lead by that example, and I think that's how we get through it. So I really honestly appreciate your words, and thank you for campaigning and getting out on the ground.
Yeah.
Way to go.
You're welcome.
Way to go.
Okay, now tell us what really happened backstage.
I was just going to say, hey, if I can just for a second, I was just going to say is I was backstage when we first came in the studio, and we were kind of going to the green room. Whoopi Goldberg walked out, and she really wanted to meet Marjorie before we went on. And she had one of the most heartfelt conversations with Marjorie and thanked her for coming on, the willingness of a Republican, stepping into a, what we can seem hostile territory. And they had a lot of respect for Marjorie. And she even asked Marjorie, can I get a hug? And so they hugged for a minute. And for a second, I thought, this is kind of cool. But let's see what they say tomorrow on the show. But that was a great moment.
So let me jump in for a second, because I do want to ask you this. Those of us, we're in this fight every day, and we know the mainstream media, and we know the girls on The View, and we know that they hated you yesterday as much as they hated you today, and as much as they're going to hate you tomorrow. As someone, being you, do you ever go into that situation and think they're really using me, though, from like right now for media clips, and to say, oh, look who's pushing back against Trump, and oh, look, she's a Democrat now, as someone on The View said to you today. Do you worry about that image being portrayed when you go and do Bill Maher and you go to do The View? And what do you say to people who say we shouldn't be giving those people any oxygen at all, because we know how they really feel about you?
Well, I understand your viewpoint, but here's something I've learned. This is my 5th year I'm finishing in Congress in Washington, and I've been literally one of the most attacked members of Congress. And I've learned this: I can't control what anyone else says about me. I can't control the headlines. I can't control what's on social media. I can only control myself. And so I talked with both of my daughters. They're 26 and 28. My son is 22. But both of my daughters and my mother said, go on that show, and Mom, show who you really are. That's what we really want to see you do. And so, that's what I did today. And if the only people that approved of that is my mother and my 2 daughters and my son, I'm totally fine with that. And then I can't control the rest. I really can't. What other people's intentions are is totally out of my control. I can only do my personal best.
How would you classify your relationship with President Trump right now? Do you talk to him on a weekly basis, daily basis? What does that look like?
Well, I've always talked to him off and on. I mean, and now he's the president of the United States. He's pretty busy. But I had a lot busy, actually. But I do talk with him every now and then. And, we agree. I mean, my goodness, I agree with, I think, 99% of the time. But I don't agree with him all of the time. I don't think I agree with anybody. I love Brian. I don't agree with Brian all the time. And Brian is great. But,
what did President Trump say? It's hard to be him. I'm like, yes, sir, it is.
But I think it's incredibly. I'm a representative, so I don't serve under President Trump. I'm elected by my district, and I represent Georgia's 14th district. And so that is my job title, is representative, and that's the job I'm trying to do.
All right, very good. Let's take a break here. Election night, Real America's Voice. Great stuff. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Brian Glenn, the boys live from Studio 6B. All of our correspondents on the ground. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back live from the America First Warehouse. Steve Bannon will take the reins at 9 p.m., take you through midnight right here on Real America's Voice. We appreciate it. We're back right after this. Can we get Slick, anybody?
Yeah, thanks.
If we have somebody to give him so I can get him involved somehow, if we have something.
That was nice. That was nice.
My ear is so itchy. This is the hype guy. He
God,
does
oh,
a good
thank you.
job. Oh. Yeah, I remember.
Yep. Okay.
Awesome.
You guys have a what site are you using for? Okay, actually,
sorry.
I'm on the CNN. Okay, just updated.
I'm using
Mikey Sherrill
CBS.
63.
Hey, good
Oh, let me go there. What is that? DecisionDesk.com.
great.
I love the first lady.
Thank you for having
Thank
us.
you
You
for
guys
bringing
do such a good job. I wish we had one of these.
All right, let me see. That's a
Thank
better
you.
one.
We're very.
Yeah, it's
Okay, Decision
Oh, yeah,
Desk
yeah, yeah.
2.
No,
I'm
of course.
good.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
good.
Results.
They gave me a Red Bull.
Because it's not 9 o'clock. They won't start posting anything until.
Oh, thank you.
No, 'cause
Right.
They called it already?
only once it closed, then they start sharing numbers.
It's.
Okay, so should we go to Mike Crispy here?
No, I'm sorry. We rode the
I'm glad to
train
be here. It's a great company and
yesterday.
great.
So that was okay.
I've-
Did then spent
It looks tight.
Yeah, I love David's. There's mom's
Okay.
here too. His mom's here somewhere.
Okay.
You know, it is what it is. Yeah, it's okay.
Okay. Let me. Okay.
Yeah, he's great.
I mean, we
He's
kind of
great.
expected
And I do my best in the Oval Office. And
20 seconds.
And then we can do some more audience stuff here. We can find somebody.
What's that? Where is it?
All right, election night, Real America's Voice. We're taking you all the way through midnight. The A team is on the ground and here at the America First Warehouse with us. I want to thank our sponsors, AMAC. Go to amac.us/election right now. You can receive a one-year membership for only $1. Don't wait. America needs you. Of course, the Wellness Company. We love the Wellness Company. Get American-made ivermectin at a price you can't beat. twc.health/voice. And, of course, our friends at Patriot Mobile. Patriot Mobile, America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. Make the switch today. Want to thank all the sponsors that make a special night like this possible. Want to thank all the great people at Real America's Voice in front of the camera, behind the scenes, doing great work tonight. Marjorie Taylor Greene is with us. Brian Glenn here at the America First Warehouse. Well, I can't thank them enough. Appreciate them being here as well. All the boys from live from Studio 6B here as well. We're talking to the great audience here at the America First Warehouse. We'll do a lot more with them. But let's get out to New Jersey. Mike Crispy is there, and it looks like we may have a call in New Jersey on Mikey Sherrill and Jack Chittarelli. Let's bring Mike in. Mike, what do we know?
Hey guys, well, I did see that one outlet have called the race. However, I still think it's pretty early. Obviously, we know last time this was a neck and neck finish. However, I will say this was the highest turnout for any gubernatorial election since 1997. So really, really high turnout, particularly in the urban areas. That's a hard thing to overcome. This was the highest turnout in Newark, one of the biggest cities in this state, since 2005. Every urban area turned out over 110, 120% of what they turned out the last time in 2021. A lot of people in here are wondering how Mikey Sherrill, somebody who didn't seem to have any appeal with the inner cities, with the black vote, how she got such high turnout in these areas. We're going to get some more information and figure that out. But the story is record high turnout in the urban areas, and in the red areas, there was high turnout too, higher than last time. However, we're going to see if the urban turnout, which is at a record, will be enough for Jack here to overcome or not. Unaffiliated votes, got to count those. Guys, it's very interesting. We're going to keep monitoring this and see what happens.
Well, right now there's 21% reporting, and again, we don't know where the votes left are still to come from, but it's a 200,000 vote difference, 64% right now to 35.5, and the race by Decision Desk HQ has been called for Mikey Sherrill in that race with 21% reporting. again, a 200,000 vote difference right now. And again, for Ciattarelli to pull this upset off, people were talking all day about Ocean County had to have a strong GOP turnout. South Jersey had to deliver with strong GOP margins there. Independents had a surge statewide. Mike, I don't know if you're still with us, but when we look back on this, one of the things that's really in question tonight for Republicans, specifically in New Jersey, is about Republicans continuing to brag about massive registration gains in these states like New Jersey as evidence to suggest that Americans are shifting to the GOP. But, you know, registration's kind of half the battle. And so what do Republicans have to look back on tonight if this number holds, as far as when they look at their registration, but actually then going and getting the job done and giving people a reason to get out to the polls? What does that say about that trend?
That's actually a phenomenal observation about voter registration. You know, Republicans from 2021 to now had a 11% increase in voter registration. So you would say that 11% increase, that things are going to be really good. Doesn't seem to be the case. It seems like voter turnout has been key, particularly in these urban areas. If Republicans aren't going to get the turnout machine in areas like Ocean County and South Jersey and Cumberland County and Burlington County and in western counties like Sussex and Morris, if you're not going to turn out that vote, how are you going to win the election? Chuck Ciattarelli ran a really robust campaign. He was all over the place. He campaigned in all 21 counties. However, Mikey Sherrill spent an insurmountable amount of campaign cash. The Democrats, very early, were pouring a ton of money into this race because they sensed that the polls were really close and they didn't want to get embarrassed. We all know that President Trump brought New Jersey from a 16-point margin in 2020 to a 5-point margin in 2024. Democrats saw that. They got spooked. They invested millions of dollars in the inner cities. And it looks like, to your point, guys, that they got them to turn out. The name of the game is turnout. And until the NJGOP and the Republican Party invest in rural and suburban area turnout, we're going to have this deficit in the urban areas. The Democrats spent a lot of money on that, and it looks like that may have them a victory tonight. We'll see what happens, but it is looking pretty insurmountable at this point, despite the fact that many unaffiliated votes came in, which people thought was going to be good for Ciattarelli, but it looks like that those Democrat votes are going to be hard to overcome, guys.
All right, very good. Mike Crispy in New Jersey. Marjorie Taylor Greene is here with us at the America First Warehouse. Trump got 2 million votes in New Jersey in 24. If Jack Ciattarelli goes on to lose, people will say he didn't convert enough Trump voters to Republican voters. But getting to the point, and you know this better than anybody, you can register all the voters you want. If you don't give them a reason to come out and vote, they're not coming out. These are people, you know, you think of people who are not registered, they're kind of let down by the system. A lot of these people, they don't see any difference between an R and a D right now. So if you don't give them a reason, you know, Democrats go grab their voters by the neck and say, you're going to vote. Republicans, well, maybe they'll show up. We'll wait for election day. And is that where we are with the Republican Party?
I completely agree with you. If Republican voters, I think they are not energized right now, and we're seeing it in the turnout, right? But let's go back to, let's be real about these states. Remember, Kamala Harris won New Jersey.
Yep.
Kamala Harris won Virginia. Are we really expecting to see Republicans run in there and win these governor races? I personally wasn't.
Yeah.
So I'm honestly not surprised. I would have loved to see it. I think we all would have loved to see that, but it's not surprising. And again, I'll go back to the two races I'm watching. Is the New York mayor's race. Are they really going to elect, they call him a socialist, but I think he's a communist. Are they really going to do that? Yeah. Is that what the Democrat Party is? And then are they going to elect an attorney general in Virginia that literally wanted to see his opponent's children murdered? That's the definition of the Democrat Party.
Let me give you the update of where we are in Virginia. So we know the governor's race has been called. The votes are still coming in there, but it's about a 200,000 vote difference between Spanberger and Winsome Steers right now. The lieutenant governor race has been called for the Democrat as well, 53 to 46, with about 55% reporting. On the attorney general, Jay Jones holds a slight 50,000 vote lead right now, 51.4 to 48.6, with 52% reporting.
All right, so then they really are going to double down on communism and murdering their opponents.
They don't care. They don't care.
That's unbelievable. But that should be, you have to take that in. I think that's something that you really have to take in that Democrat voters
Yeah.
are really serious about communism and
Well,
really
they're serious about power, right? I mean, they're serious
power,
about
but
however they
also-
get it.
serious about electing someone that will kill their opponent's children.
Yeah.
I don't even have words for that. I don't even know what to say about that.
Hey, my question here is, how much of this falls on the rest of the GOP? I mean, the people that, the people that are in office that should have been out there campaigning to, get this guy out and make sure that their guy propelled to win. You have so many Republicans across the board who could have said, you know what, I'm going to show up for this guy because I think I can help him win. And you don't see any of these guys show up, right? Am I wrong? Am I missing something?
No,
or do
you're
they
not
just
wrong.
kind of say, oh, I don't want to get involved because I don't want it to come back on me next year when I have to run, and oh my goodness, I might, say something stupid. And they're too busy protecting themselves to think about the overall good that they could be doing by getting out there. Like what you did today by crossing into the enemy camp, so to speak, the way President Trump did when he went to the South Bronx, crossing into the enemy
Charlie
camp.
Kirk is always
Right, exactly.
Yes.
And going into their playing field and punching them around a bit.
Oh, look, I totally agree with you. So here's something we need to talk about in the MAGA movement. I'm going to bring this up. We see nonstop fighting in the MAGA movement. Every time I go on X, every time I go on social media, it's literally everybody shooting at each other.
Yep.
Right.
And I think that is a massive failure. And Democrats don't do that.
No.
They lock arms no matter how much. Look, AOC and Nancy Pelosi hate each other, and those women lock arms and they go out and campaign for Democrats.
Right.
And, I serve with all the Democrats. I have Jasmine Crockett on 2 of my committees. So I know exactly what these people say and do, and they go out and they go Team Democrat. I think Republicans, MAGA in particular, we need to learn to start doing that. And if we are unwilling to do it, then we're going to keep losing elections. But the biggest thing is we have to give a reason for people to vote for us.
Right.
And that is why I, again, will say it is pathetic and disrespectful that we are not working in Washington right now. Congress, we are not working in Washington, and so we're sending a message to voters everywhere like Republicans are giving you nothing to vote for. As a matter of fact, they gave all the federal employees in Virginia so many days off, it's not even funny, so they could go in and vote for these people. And I'll blame my own party. I'll blame all of my colleagues. I'll blame Speaker Johnson for that. And so I'll take some blame on myself, but I'll also push back to everybody else is we can't shoot within our own tent.
Yeah.
We got to get it together and fight the Democrats.
Well, the race has been called for Jay Jones.
Oh,
Decision
wow.
Desk HQ has called
God
the
help
race
us.
Man.
for Jay Jones, the Democrat Attorney General in Virginia. 51.2 to 48.8 with about 55% again reporting. That race has now been called. We're going to New Jersey, I believe, now. Let me bring Mike Crispy back in. Audience members from New Jersey. Oh, Kevin Downey Jr. You have an audience member from New Jersey. Kevin Downey Jr., who do you got?
I do. Thanks, Big D. We got Patriot James with here. Let's hear for Patriot James, folks. And Patriot James wants to throw something up on the stage that's going on today. Pretty serious business. Take it away, buddy.
Yeah, so from what I'm hearing in New Jersey is that through like 6 or 7 different counties, there were bomb threats made, and they evacuated all the polling centers and had to relocate all these people. And then after a while, I guess they cleaned it up and deemed it a non-threat, and it was some young adolescent kid that was calling the polling centers and putting tweets out online about he was going to blow up the polling centers. So there's a big mess going on in New Jersey. And plus, I don't trust these electronic voting systems. We got to get them out. We got to go back to paper ballots. That's the only way we're going to get real accountability and honesty in our elections.
Now, do we know if these were red counties where they had the bomb threats?
I'm not sure if they were red or blue, but I heard there was about 6 or 7 different counties that had bomb threats made on them.
All right. Have you guys heard about the bomb threats on stage?
I did hear about them this morning. And again, obviously election fraud is still on everyone's mind. But also some people look and say, well, do we use it as a crutch every time that we lose a race? We yell fraud and machines and paper ballots and all of that too. Is it more to the point where, again, President Trump can't be on every ballot every year for the rest of our lives. We need to give low propensity voters and our voters a reason to come out and be excited about what the party is doing.
Totally agree. I absolutely agree. You don't go back to another restaurant unless you love the food, right?
Yep.
You're not a repeat customer unless you love the product. And I think I can't agree with you more than that. It's not depending on Donald Trump. Republicans need to be the party that Americans want to vote for. And I want to rip out the neocons out of the party. I'll go ahead and be honest about that. And I think the Republicans, many of my colleagues, they put on a MAGA hat for the first time after Donald Trump won the election in 2024. And that really upset me because I've been wearing one the entire time, even when Joe Biden came to give a State of the Union address to Congress. But I really think that you're going to see the American people not vote for Republicans. I'll predict that right now until the Republican Party actually puts into action, not just words, literally being America first.
I was going to say, Damon, I agree. There's a website, libertyscorecard.com.
Oh, wow. We have it on this show a lot.
Go to that website, and you'll see these people at Trump rallies put on their MAGA hat, throwing red meat to the viewers. They get elected, and they do absolutely jack you-know-what when they get into office. Go to libertyscorecard.com. You'll find out your favorite MAGA Republican has a D, has an F, has a C minus. That is inexcusable.
Right, but one of the problems getting to that point over the years, and I'll just say it because let me say it, it's been Mitch McConnell, because we have had good Republican primary candidates, and he went and stuck his face in races where it didn't need to be. He raised money against him. He was always about the policy over Congress and the purse and the budgets. And he kneecapped us at every single turn. He's the biggest debt creator the Republican Party has ever seen. He has kneecapped candidates that we could have had better primary candidates and had better representation, who were America first and were for President Trump. He cannot go fast enough.
I agree.
I don't wish anything bad on him. I know he's having whatever. He needs to get out, and we need to stay away from the leadership of the McConnells and Boehners. And I mean, you can go back through the list of them. It never gets any better.
Can we come back to the neocon discussion after the break?
I don't think we're taking a break, but yeah, we can get to it right now.
Well, we talked about it. That to me is the most divisive part of the MAGA movement. The neocons have been more destructive, in my opinion, than any party in American history. The last 30 years of neocon policy, starting from the clean break to the PNAC mafia, right through 9/11, through the Patriot Act, it's all been a disaster. And they keep doubling down. And now you can't say one word about, I'll touch the third rail. We can't say a word about AIPAC. And now, because you're immediately labeled, and once you're labeled, what does the media do? It destroys you. So all conversation is over instantly. What world are we in?
Well, I'll say it like this, and I talk about this more and more. October 7th was horrible. Yeah. Everybody can say that.
Yeah.
But I will also say that the Israeli government bombing in Gaza, murdering innocent people, children, and starving them is also awful. And that's not attacking Jewish people. That's talking about the government of Israel. And that's not an attack on Americans in any way. But I will say we need to stop sending money and supporting this. But not just that country. I've never supported sending money to Ukraine because that's not a war we should be supporting.
It's not our business.
And we should be able to criticize any government we want to. It's not about people's identities. It's about a government and what they're doing. But I don't think anybody's money, no one here in this room or in this country, your money should not be sent to support foreign wars when it's not being used here at home to fix any of our problems.
Okay, if I can real quickly, this is going to surprise everybody. As the government is shut down, Congress is not in session. There was one organization that walked the halls of Congress, and what were they advocating and trying to get money for? Marjorie, take it away.
Ukraine. Yep, they came in.
The gall of this organization to come to our country when our government shut down and beg for more money to fund their war against Russia.
You know,
you can't make this up.
But real quick, I think the more disgusting part of that, Brian, is how many of those doors were open for them? That's the question. How many of your colleagues were there like, oh yeah, come right on in? Let's hear what you have to say.
Unfortunately, way too many.
Right?
They're not welcome in my office.
There's a sign on your door.
And I don't take any donations from AIPAC. Actually,
incredible.
Thank you. I have a sign on my office door that says you have to be registered under FARA
Good for you.
to come in and talk to me about a foreign country.
Think about how we are handcuffed, right? I can bury Trump's big bad bill. I can bury Obama all day long, and McCain or Kerry or any one of these interchangeable swamp creatures. I can't say one thing about a policy in Israel without everyone looking at me like, but I don't hate anybody. I'm a Christian too.
Right.
I've surrendered my life to Christ 2 years ago, and I've never been happier. And I don't hate anyone. And it's unfair that a conversation can't even be had.
I know.
And now and that's what's killing MAGA, because if someone says one thing about a policy they don't like, they are immediately ostracized. Look at Tucker Carlson, who has done so much for the Republican Party.
We've done a kind of a deep dive on these influencer political activist accounts, and I'm not going to name them right now because I don't want to elevate their status. But they are paid to push out an agenda and attack people or promote people in Congress, the Senate, or even public figures. When someone's posting 70 to 90 times a day, they are paid. I don't care if it's from AIPAC or some other organization. They are getting paid. They are not doing this for fun. So they're going to act like it's all organic and hate Marjorie Taylor Greene because she spoke out against this or spoke out against that. It's all a bunch of crap. And they're paid to do it. And it should be disclaimer that they're paid to promote this.
Oh,
and we did, and like I said, I'm not going to name accounts, but we did a little bit of investigation, and there are some awful things going on to make you completely brainwashed to hate people like Marjorie and hate other
or Tucker Carlson
or Tucker Carlson or anybody else that just has a different way of thinking and wants to get away from the neocon and the establishment of the Republican Party.
And now we have Mark Levin saying that neocon is a pejorative. Think about controlling the dialogue. That is so unbelievably unfair. So for me, if we're all going to try to be reasonable and honorable and completely decent with each other, and in the name of Charlie Kirk and what he brought to this nation and a once-in-a-generation human being, we should honor that by allowing dialogue without labeling people instantly. And that, to me, is the destruction of MAGA. That's what's going to kill us at the midterms.
But to that point, though, the question is not whether one can criticize Israel. Isn't it more the question of whether open anti-Semitism and racism are acceptable in conservative politics?
Oh, I'm completely against hate of all kinds. I am.
Same here.
But I'll tell you this, it's my duty to protect free speech. It is my duty. Even speech I don't like and disagree with. I think free speech it's our First Amendment for a reason. And that's where real dialogue comes from, and I think it's important to be able to hear someone's speech because that tells you a lot about them, right? If we're hearing someone being hateful about someone's identity or who they are, then we learn about them as a person. If we're debating ideas, like you said, if we're talking about our right to criticize a foreign government or a foreign government's action or how our tax dollars are being spent, then that's okay.
Let's get to, I got to get to Mark Serrano in Virginia. Obviously, we've had, I guess the race has all been called, and obviously the Attorney General race as well. Mark, tell us what we need to know.
Damon, this is not a pretty picture in Virginia. Winsome Sears, it appears, has lost by a whopping 10% in this race against Abigail Spanberger. Interestingly, in the Attorney General's race, Jason Miyares has come in just 1 point below his competitor Jay Jones. 1%. Guess what was one of the big differences between these two candidates? Jason Miyares received an endorsement from Donald Trump that he sought out. That's the difference when Donald Trump is a factor in this race. Don't you think, Britt?
Absolutely. Some star power, support behind your name. Still shocked that result is what it is with Jay Jones, given what you all discussed on set, his texts that were very graphic and detailed. But we can say I spoke to representatives here. Winsome Earl Sears is here. They said they will have a rundown on the show soon. when I assume she will concede this race, but we're still waiting for that. So she is in the building, and just a complete blue ticket in Virginia. We thought it might be different. I don't know about you.
Yeah, and Damon, the other thing is, Britt and I are standing in Loudoun County, Virginia right now. This is ground zero for the parents' rights movements. Parents' rights and transgenderism was probably the top issue for Winsome Sears in this campaign. This county, the ground zero for parents' rights, went for Jake Jones and Abigail Spanberger. That's what a weak candidate Winsome Sears was, because she treated Donald Trump like a communicable disease. Candidates across America, I'm telling you right now, don't do what Winsome Sears did here in Virginia. Embrace MAGA, embrace America First, because Donald Trump's coalition from 2024 gave us the winning formula for a future in America.
And it's interesting to note, this is a little bit of a random factoid or a big one, no matter how you look at it, or if you will. Jay Jones, with those texts, I know you guys might feast on this right now, did better than Kamala Harris in Loudoun County. He actually had more voter turnout, more votes than Kamala in the presidential election last year. So wrap your mind around that one and the violence that he espoused. He did better than last year's presidential candidate for the Democrats.
Well, the difference is that he said it. He said it. That's the difference. The voters and the party, let's face it, most of them agree with him. They just won't say it. They'll think it. They agree with the sentiment. They think that sentiment is okay if it achieves the end of power. So, and I don't know how anybody in Virginia could be ultimately surprised tonight. There was not a public poll in 2025 that has ever had Winsome Sears in the lead. Trump took the White House, and the GOP in Virginia gave up on the governor's election, is I think the way to frame it. But Mark, I'll give you the final word here.
Damon, look, I got to say, I got to say, we have to lay this at the feet of Glenn Youngkin. This is his chosen nominee for the Republican Party, Winsome Sears. He basically pre-wired the nomination for her. He had an excellent candidate in Jason Miyares, who he could have selected instead, and he blew it. A 10-point blowout is on Glenn Youngkin tonight.
All right, very good. Britt McHenry and Mark Serrano in Virginia following the trifecta down there as the Democrats win all, the Attorney General, obviously the governorship, and the Lieutenant Governor race in Virginia. We'll get back to them. But let's get over to Slick Rick in the Slick Lounge tonight. He's got another great member of the audience here at the America First Warehouse. Slick, who you got?
Thanks, Big D. I'm with Steve Gillen from Project Civica, a 501c4 representing 15 city council districts with 194,000 commercials pumped out with views. So, Steve, you have a question for our panel?
Yes, I wanted to just jump back to, you was speaking earlier about the Republican Party not giving people something to come out to vote for. So what I did in the city here, we created what was called the Common Sense Contract with NYC. And I fashioned it off of Newt Gingrich's 1994 contract with America. He flipped 53 seats in the House and 9 in the Senate. And that was the greatest success the Republican Party ever had. If we look at the last election, we were fighting over 5, 6, 7, maybe seats. He flipped 53. And how did he do it? He gave Republicans a reason to come out and vote. He says, if you come out and vote for me, whoever that may be, they signed the contract, and now the Republicans and independents knew exactly what these candidates promised to do. So we recreated it again for the city council races, and we have 15 candidates running tonight in New York City. And it's amazing how you really didn't hear anything about the city council, even after everybody was so concerned about Mondavi winning. So what's the next, firewall up there would be city council. But we didn't get that. So anyway, what we did is we have these candidates running. Hopefully the whole intent of this whole project for the Common Sense Contract with NYC was to build the Republican independent base for 26. The Republican Party doesn't look at things like that. They don't look forward and give people a reason and show that there is actually an opposition party in New York. And that's what we tried to do with Project Civica. Yeah, so I was wondering down in the Congress, I know they did this in the past, why don't they do something like this and give Republicans a reason to come out and vote? Not just words, but give them a reason to come out and vote in writing, in a contract.
All right, very good. Slick Rick. Brian, what do you think of that?
That's a great idea. Sign me up. Where's my pen?
Yeah. All right, let's take a break. Live from the America First Warehouse, Election Night 2025, Tuesday, November 4th. Let's take a break on Real America's Voice. We got a lot more to do. Steve Bannon will take the reins in just a few, take you through midnight. We're back right after this.
Good stuff.
If she's brave enough to go against the whole world, the least I can do is touch the third rail tonight. I mean,
So you guys do that Liberty scorecard then? Huh?
Yep.
Brian, can I ask you a question?
Yep.
How come all these local politicians don't
on
all
what?
take
What
the
topic?
5
I mean,
tenets
David,
of
obviously,
MAGA
what's Grant
and
coming
just
in for?
rebrand them in a way that fits them, like American protectionism and America First and family core values? You know what I mean? Like, you don't see that in the local races. Why are they just afraid, or are they just lazy? What is it?
Probably a little bit of both.
And why not?
Probably a little bit of both.
You have the greatest personality in the presidency we've ever seen.
Yep.
And you know better than anybody, right?
Yeah,
He is hysterical.
Yeah. I mean, he's literally giving you like an outline to win your election.
It's right there.
Yeah, but here's the problem. That's not the way they've always done it.
That's it.
That's what they're held back by.
Yeah.
Well, that's not the way we do it.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
That's how you win.
It makes me so mad. It just makes me. I get so irate. It makes me so mad to see some of these people that they campaign, they put on a MAGA hat for the first time. Glenn Youngkin stayed so far away from Trump in that last election.
I'm sorry, I
All
don't
his rallies
know.
look like a Trump rally because he hired Trump
I'm
people
sure they're
to
great.
put on his rallies, but he never said Trump. Not one time.
I know.
And he tried to prevent me from covering
Thank you.
it.
Is that because he had like Carlyle Group money, and like is any of that ever
They
in
actually
play?
tried to prevent me from covering election night at the Glenn Youngkin election night.
Wow.
Cole, I'm
Because
sorry.
they knew I was close
One
to
more
Trump.
time. Okay. Thanks.
It's so crazy.
It is crazy.
We got it. And we're back. Election night 2025. Real America's Voice. The best election coverage anywhere on your television. We're going to take you right through midnight. Steve Bannon's going to join us at 9 p.m. and take you right through midnight with the A-Team on the ground. I want to thank all of our sponsors who make a night like this possible. Of course, our friends at AMAC. Go to amac.us/election right now. Receive a 1-year membership for just $1. Don't wait. America needs you. Our friends at AMAC, go check them out. Of course, our friends at the Wellness Company. Get American-made ivermectin at a price you can't beat at twc.health/voice, twc.health/voice. And of course, Patriot Mobile. Patriot Mobile, America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. Make the switch today. I want to thank all three of our great sponsors tonight that make a night like this possible. Well, we've talked a lot about Virginia, and obviously we talked about New Jersey. Polls have closed there. Races have been called. The big one comes up at 9 o'clock, 10 minutes before the polls close. Let's go out to our own David Zier. He is in New York at Cuomo headquarters. David Zier, I'm sure you've been listening to a lot of the conversation tonight. If you want to weigh in on anything you've heard and tell us what the feeling is there at Cuomo headquarters in New York, about 10 minutes from the polls closing.
Well, thanks, Damon. Before I get into that, I just want to say I was in the gallery in '94 when Newt Gingrich took the gavel for the 104th Congress. That was historic. But I got to say, record turnout in New York City tonight. Biggest voting turnout since at least 1993. I think we're well over 2 million at this point. I wanted to address early voting quickly. You know, it was important to look at these numbers for early voting and where the top 4 areas were in early voting as a percentage of turnout. And they went from Mamdani, most likely, like little Bangladesh. in Washington Heights or Upper East Side or the Upper West Side, and also Astoria, where Mamdani is from. So, it was looking pretty good for Mamdani. And did Cuomo do too little, too late in this race here? And because the GOP was put in a tough position, right? Because Curtis got the endorsements of Stefanik, of Pataki, of Giuliani, of Malyatakis, right? And then I think a lot of those Republican voters won't come over for Cuomo. We'll see where that lands, but the city council's a mess too, and Project Civic is great, but New York only has 6 Republicans out of 50 seats. Hopefully we can pick up a couple this time around, but there's also important ballot measures tonight on the ballot, and one of them is to expedite or to expedite the affordable housing building that Cuomo and Mamdani will both benefit from, taking powers away from the city council so they can build this partially public-funded affordable housing. You can't spend your way out of the problem here. And I also wanted to just address terror, right? Mamdani wants to get rid of the counterterrorism unit. I have family in counterterrorism in New York City. And, I lost one of my best friends in 9/11, and I follow it very closely. 40-year history of Islamic terror in New York, starting back to the Al Farouk Mosque in the 80s in Brooklyn, going to the Sahadi Spice Market, recruiting Mujahideen for Al-Qaeda or for, the Taliban. And at the Spice Market on Atlantic Avenue. And there's a rich history, dozens of attacks in New York City. So I hope that we stay vigilant if Mamdani does take over. But he will be under the microscope. I think it sets the stage, if he does get in, for the governor's race to go red. And everything he does will be able to be, watched very closely here. So we'll see where that goes. But this is a referendum, Damon, in closing here, on the Democratic Party. Which way do they want to go in New York? Is it the Democratic Socialists of America? And just like Linda Sarsour said, she's going to own Mamdani if he gets in. So it's a scary moment. We got a few minutes until the polls close. We're at the headquarters at Ziegfeld Ballroom, Midtown Manhattan here. The public has been let in. There's a lot of energy here, but we'll know shortly who is going to be the next mayor of New York City.
Yeah, all right, David. Of course, the Caliphate Cosplay Convention looks like it kicks off tonight, and it is amazing when you think about in the Big Apple, the city that endured 9/11, when Mamdani's radical Islamists turned the New York skyline into a graveyard, that this is happening in New York City. It is quite amazing. The problem you'll have is going between Broadway shows, not tripping over prayer mats. That looks like what's going to happen. But Marjorie Taylor Greene is with us. She's actually got some breaking news out of Georgia. What is going on?
This was extremely disappointing to me. It's just been announced that the 2 Democrat candidates won the Public Service Commission race. And I'll tell you what a historic thing this is. This victory marks the first Democratic win in non-federal statewide races in Georgia in nearly 2 decades. This is like a political earthquake in my state. And I think it's a major referendum of what we might see in Georgia for the 2026 midterms, which are serious. We've got our governor's race, our lieutenant governor, our entire statewide slate will be up for re-election in 2026, as well as John Ossoff, which is a very important Senate race that we'd like to win back. But Public Service Commission, these are the utility regulating boards that regulates energy in the state of Georgia. And so it just went to 2 Democrats that very much believe in the Green New Deal. So out of all the races tonight, this is the one that I was really surprised about and extremely disappointed.
Wow. Let's quickly get to Grant Stinchfield. I've only got about a minute and a half. Grant, if you can hear me, let's bring Grant in. I know he had something on prop. Go ahead, Grant.
Well, Damon, I just wanted to say when it comes to Prop 50 out in California, that's to battle back against what we're doing here in Texas, where I'm broadcasting from. I want people to consider what could be disaster. These court cases are now, in Texas, still being decided. Could you imagine if Texas loses its redistricting bid, even though we are well within our rights to be doing this, and God forbid California wins, that spells disaster. But Damon, you summed it up earlier. Harmeet Dillon is from California. I promise you, if Prop 50 goes through, which I expect it will, Harmeet Dillon and her team from the DOJ will be in California right away She may have to help us here in Texas because we're still waiting, and a lot of congressional candidates don't know if they can run because they don't know what the district is, and March is the primary coming up very, very soon. Back to you guys.
All right, very good. Grant Stinchfield down in Texas. I want to thank all of everybody we've spoken to set the table so far. We are going to take a quick break. I want to thank everybody here at the America First Warehouse. Don't go anywhere. We're not done yet, but we're going to turn it over to Steve Bannon, who's going to take you from 9 p.m. right through midnight. But Brian Glenn, I'll give you a last word here for this segment. Anything else you want to say?
I'm just happy to be here at the American First Warehouse. Thank you so much for coming out. It's my honor to be here on the stage with you guys. Love the show. Watch it every night. Just thank you so much, and God bless the USA.
Congresswoman Green.
Yeah. Oh, I share Brian's sentiment. I think you guys are great. We do watch it so many times in the evening, and it's just really fun to be here in person. Thank you.
Oh, we appreciate both of you being here. All right, let's take a break. We're not done yet. Don't go anywhere. Coverage continues. Steve Bannon will take the reins right when we come back at 9 o'clock, taking you through midnight right here, Real America's Voice. We're back right after this. Okay, so are we, just someone help me here, are we clear here? No. We're not clear. Okay. Okay, we are not done. Okay, MTG and Brian are leaving?
Yeah, they're going to go.
They got to go. Okay. Okay, let me see.
Is and Mark Serrano. Britt and Mark.
Yes. Hello.
Is that Serrano?
Hey.
Hey,
Steve.
Mark. Coming right to you.
Yes, sir.
Is Britt there?
Yep.
Oh, there they are. Got him.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Hi.
Gotcha. Hello. I'm coming right to you guys.
We got, oh, we do. Oh.
It's Mike Crispy.
All right, Harry, I'm going to leave this
Get a
chair
little
then.
louder,
So,
Harry.
Hey, Mike Crispy, do a 10 count.
Hey, 10, 9, 8, 7,
Got it,
6,
got it.
5.
Solomon up.
Yes, I am. Good. Thank you, guys.
No, we got time. We got like 15 minutes.
The battle for America's future is on. From New York to New Jersey, from Virginia to every corner of this nation, the decisions made tonight will define the years ahead. From the guys at Studio 6B to Steve Bannon himself, Real America's Voice is bringing you breaking results, live reports, and unfiltered truth all night long. Get comfortable and join the conversation. The Road Forward 2025 on America's Voice starts right now.
Okay, welcome election night 2025. It is Tuesday, 4 November in the year of our Lord 2025. A lot is going on, and none of it is good so far. I want to thank the Studio 6B team that took us from 7 to 9 o'clock. We'll be checking back in with them later at the America First Warehouse out on Long Island. Of course, the polls, I think, are closing right now in New York City, but we want to go to, and I want to set the stage here. The race was called in New Jersey in 13 minutes. The race was called in the Commonwealth of Virginia in 19 minutes. Let's start in Virginia at the Sears headquarters. We've got Britt McHenry and Mark Serrano. Serrano, I'll start with you. What in the hell happened down there, sir?
Well, Steve, the the governor's race in 2025 in Virginia, disaster for the Republicans, has a name, and it's Glenn Youngkin. Winsome Sears lost this race by 11.4%. Think about that for a minute. Glenn Youngkin, who was an accidental governor in 2021 because he basically ran on the coattails of the Parents' Right movement, he selected his hand-picked successor by basically eliminating any real primary in the spring, picked Winsome Sears, who, by the way, treated Donald Trump and the America First movement like a communicable disease and wouldn't embrace it, wouldn't reach out to it, and the results speak for themselves. An 11-point disaster, whereas Jason Miyares, running for re-election for Attorney General, who received the endorsement of Donald Trump, bested her by 10 points. He won his race for Attorney General, lost his race by only 1.4%. And frankly, I think Jay Jones won off the coattails of Abigail Spanberger. This is a disaster. And Glenn Youngkin was the general chairman of this campaign for Winsome Sears. And let me just tell you, looking ahead, this is not how you run a race. You embrace America first. Yeah. You speak to low propensity voters and working class, and Winsome Sears did none of that.
No, it's even worse than that. In 2021, we were here on election night. This was John Fredericks came up with the strategy months before and came here to the war room and convinced me to have the war room back up because Youngkin was not, he was a private equity guy. He was not a Trump fan. They didn't want any involvement of Trump whatsoever. John Fredericks got on that bus, and his theory of the case was if we can get near presidential level performances that Trump got in 2020, if we can get with like 80% of that, and overperform in those areas for a governor's race, that the governor's candidate can win, and that's exactly what happened. He won on the parents' rights movement up in Northern Virginia. Right there was kind of started, and the overperformance of the MAGA vote. Okay, and then he never embraced it. This catastrophe in Virginia, and we have to call it catastrophe. You could wipe because you had a great candidate like Miyares, who beat the gubernatorial candidate by 10 points and still is going to lose by over 1. They also, I think, are going to have a bigger pickup in the House of Delegates. The reason this is important, and Britt McHenry will bring you in here, is that the House of Delegates and Spanberger have already said they're going to go to a 10-to-1 map. Tonight, the midterms start at midnight as soon as we get done with California. The midterms start tonight. And you're seeing in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and you're seeing in California, where the Democrats are going to try to stack the deck to impeach President Trump. So don't think this doesn't have national implication. It has massive national implications. And Youngkin ought to be ashamed of himself for what happened here tonight. 19 minutes after the polls closed, Winsome Sears was designated the loser. Spanberger won, and Sears didn't even come out. I don't know if she even gave a concession speech. Britt, how bad is it in the rest of the races in Virginia?
Look, there's still a lot of tallying going on, but I think you hit the nail on the head with Democrats using this at midnight. They didn't have to. It could be 19 minutes after 7 o'clock Eastern time. And with the other states' performances to really start their 2026 comeback. And we've talked about here how the federal government shutdown likely was a factor. If you give 35 days off to people, which the Democrats did on purpose for the ACA and, quite frankly, what we're seeing tonight. That gives time to people to vote, to show up. Let me just give you a couple numbers here. Steve, I know you mentioned them, but Spanberger won 77% of early by-mail votes. That's what we were talking about. 58 of early in-person votes, 58%, and 53% of the votes on election day. Now, this is not atypical for Republicans. Mark, I'm sure you can tee off on this. It's historically been, possibly will change as the younger age group gets older, right, with in-person versus mail-in voting. But if the Democrat is winning by 53% on the day of in-person voting, that tells you all you need to know. And you're exactly right. Imagine if Abigail Spanberger had said anything in that debate about Jay Jones, which she should have, because fantasizing about shooting children and your opponent should be a non-factor, and he actually got a large turnout of female votes, which is shocking. If she had said one thing, that's a 1% difference.
Hang on for 1 second, Britt. Decision Desk, which is pretty good, they've called the races tonight, and they're normally pretty conservative, have just called the New York City race for Mamdani, and that is at 6 minutes after polls close. 6 minutes after polls close. Britt, has Winston Sears come out and addressed her crowd yet, her audience? Has she conceded? Has she officially conceded?
She has not. I was told about 40 minutes ago that they were going to come out with a run of show, nodded that she was here. The room filled up. There's definitely a larger crowd, but it's all for a concession speech. And you just have to look at this nationally, too, for Virginia, New Jersey, California, and be a little concerned and also a little disappointed, right, Mark, at Republican candidates and the lack of campaigning that happened in Virginia. I'll say this. We live here. Spanberger's campaign was louder. What do you have to add to that?
Well, and Winsome Sears, she is the most unrelatable candidate tonight for MAGA. Why would MAGA turn out for a candidate who would not embrace Donald Trump, who built the greatest coalition victory in 2024 in American history, Steve? And a great irony here is Britt and I are standing in Loudoun County, Virginia, the ground zero for the parents' rights movements. And yet, Winsome Sears, who put transgenderism and parents' rights as her number one issue, she got destroyed in this county and dragged down Jason Miyares here as well. It's a tremendous irony, but let me just tell you, building a coalition like Donald Trump did, and like you and the posse did, and the War Room a year ago, that's the way to win elections, not by holding Donald Trump at arm's length distance like Winsome Sears did, because all those rural counties across Virginia that you know so well, we didn't get the turnout we needed by far.
No, it's sicker than that. Youngkin used her as the attack dog against Trump. And that whole DeSantis kind of madness in 21 and 22 when they thought Trump was going to be gone, she was the attack dog, and then they put her up to this. You may not recover from this in the Republican Party in the Commonwealth of Virginia for a generation. That's how bad this is. It's awful. Guys, you stick around. We're going to come back to you. Let us know if she gives a concession speech. I would love to hear that one. Let's go to New Jersey. Mike Crispy. Okay, Mike. It was 13 minutes. The race was called by Decision Desk 13 minutes after the polls closed, and I do believe that Cliff Maloney may be right. You may, I think, a third of the vote in. It's already 1 million votes. You may get to 3 million votes tonight. What happened?
Well, Steve, there was a record high turnout in the urban communities. This was the highest turnout in the urban communities and inner cities of New Jersey since 1997. The Democrats ran a turnout operation in the inner city that the Republicans clearly were not prepared for. And in Republican strongholds, Ocean County, South Jersey, there seems to have been a suppression going on. You and I have talked about it, the fact that there was some of the Christie people that wanted this thing to go the Democrats' way. They didn't like Chitterelli. There was a little bit of a turf war, civil war going on. So I think there was suppressed vote in South Jersey. Couldn't get the vote out there. And then obviously the most important factor here is that the consultants of Jack Chitterelli were never MAGA and never let him fully connect with President Trump. You know, Steve, President Trump had a rally in New Jersey that had 100,000 people at the Jersey Shore. I wanted him to come back for a rally. We didn't see him do that. He got the endorsement from Trump. Trump was posting on Truth Social about him and doing tele-rallies, but I do believe there were elements in the campaign that were not wanting the president to come here, but the president did way better than any candidate on the Republican side in the modern era of New Jersey. That just proves that MAGA is the future in this state.
No, Crispy, we closed, you know, we're trying to make the case that New Jersey is the new Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania is the new Ohio. How do we close so much and how do the consultants not reach out to President Trump's team and have President Trump as an integral part of this campaign, sir?
You know, these consultants, I don't know how they stay in business, Steve. You have these people who have been running this party into the ground because they charge campaigns and candidates
millions of dollars, and what do they get for it? They get the strategy to avoid Trump. We got to get these consultants out of the party. We need to have unabashed MAGA for the future going forward. President Trump made an 11-point gain in the state. It's such a shame to see it squandered. And I'm telling you, if anybody wants to win in the future, it's from Virginia here to New Jersey. You got to get these bad, rotten consultants out of the game. Trump coming back to New Jersey. I was on the ground all year long campaigning in this race to try to get a Republican elected after President Trump endorsed Jack. They all wanted Trump to come back here. They all wanted him to repeat the magic. We would have seen, I think, higher turnout in those South Jersey rural areas if Trump came back. Trump got 2 million votes here. Jack is not going to get anywhere close to 2 million votes that Trump got just a year ago in 2024.
Unbelievable. Mike, you hang around too. We're going to come back there, particularly if Jack comes up to the microphone. I've got, we have John Solomon. John Solomon at the Real America's Voice news desk, anchor desk in Washington, D.C. Okay, hey, John Solomon. So far, give me poor Jason in the Commonwealth of Virginia.
Yeah.
The brother runs 10 points ahead of the gubernatorial candidate, the head of the ticket, and he's still going to lose. Put it in perspective so far, Solomon. Before we go to Richard Barris, then we're going to go to New York.
Well, first, let's keep in mind these are all blue areas, and if Republicans are going to win in blue areas, they had to take the lessons of 2024 and apply them to these states at this moment. And they did none of that. I started warning about this in April after the Wisconsin Supreme Court race, because all the things that Donald Trump and the Republicans did in 2024, they weren't doing in 2025. They didn't get out the early vote like the operation that Lee Zeldin did with AFW and Bernie Marcus's money and got 3 million people who hadn't voted in a decade out early in the bank. They didn't do that. And until you change the laws, you got to win the early vote. The Democrats swamped that. The Democrats got their day of vote out in urban areas like Newark, and we didn't. That's one of the rules that we failed. The second rule we failed is you don't run from MAGA. And both of our both of the Republican nominees for governor ran from Donald Trump. They tried to hide their alliances with Donald Trump. The one guy tonight who leaned into Donald Trump and MAGA, Jason Myers, outperforms everybody else on the ticket statewide. What does that tell you? You don't run from the thing that got you there, that built the base of the movement, that energized the party. If Donald Trump had come into New Jersey the last month, he would have beaten down Mikey Sherrill on her earlier cheating scandal with the Navy. He would have beaten her down on so many of the other issues. Abigail Spanberger wouldn't have had the cakewalk because we would have been talking every day about the Saudi complex where she worked right after 9/11 with a group of people that were aligned with terrorists. The candidates didn't bang it. The third failure that the Republicans made, they didn't learn. They had a really bad candidate, particularly in Virginia. Nobody thought Winston Sears could win, but we did next woman up instead of the best candidate. Jason Myers would have performed way better at the top of the ticket. Instead, we pigeonholed him down into the Attorney General's race. Then I think the final thing is that Donald Trump won because the MAGA agenda spoke to people whose problems were at the dinner table, on the budget, making ends meet, and they completely forgot about that. We've talked about everything. We want to talk about Nick Fuentes. We want to talk about peace in Israel, but you know what? That doesn't buy the next dinner at the table. It doesn't make you make ends between paychecks. Republicans abandoned economic populism. And you and I have talked about this since April. You could see this disaster happening, and tonight we had it. Now, these were blue states. They were going to stay blue unless the Republicans played a better playbook. They went back to the stupid playbooks of the last decade, and that's why they lost tonight. It's not hard to figure this out, but in 2026, we just made it harder for Republicans to win because they'll be redistricting things. Only the Justice Department can maybe block some of this redistricting with a win at the Supreme Court in the Louisiana case. But Republicans have to wake up tomorrow morning and say, we got to go back to the strategy of 2024. We won with that, and we fell asleep on it this year. We didn't do any of the things that got us the win in 24. That's the lesson of tonight. It's not any more complex than that.
Make America healthy again, the MAGA movement, merge them together, they get out the ballot chasing. Tyler Boyer just put out a great tweet about that. Cernovich. It's the basics. We know how to do this. I want to talk about the national implications. The House is already meeting. Spanberger, they're going to go 10-1 because now, just like us, it's a maximalist strategy. I get it. But now Wes Moore just came on TV. He's convening the Maryland I think, assembly tomorrow to put a commission together. They're going to go.
Sure.
They're on a roll now, and they're seeing 2026 as their shot to impeach Donald Trump. Am I wrong
That's
in that,
right.
sir?
Oh, no, that's definitely the play. Now, listen, we drew the first blood, and we didn't have a plan after. We drew Texas, which, by the way, Texas was kind of required by the court, so it was a legitimate redistricting argument. But the Democrats are going to squeeze this hard. Here, I think, is the big key. Yeah, I think the 2026 election map will be made on the decisions or lack of decisions that Harmeet Dillon made. She is the chief of the Civil Rights Division and the chief enforcement officer for election law. If she makes the proper arguments in these states where they're doing gerrymandering in retaliation, rather than to make sure there's appropriate apportionment, representation of people, she can win in the courts. If she can strike at that, there's a difference between Texas and California. California ballot says what they're doing. They're retributing against Texas. That's not representing the interests of the people of California. That's taking care of a political beast. She has the ability to show that Texas did it because courts required it. If she can win, and if the Solicitor General can win that Louisiana case, they will have an upper hand to sue and block some of these reapportionments in the court and tie it down in 26, delay it into 27. That's the best play that the Trump administration has on that. In the meantime, they got to get out the vote. There was no get out the vote. I live in Prince William County, Virginia. It is the most sought after blue-purplish county, and it's the second largest county. I didn't have a single Republican canvasser come to my house. I had about 13 Democrats. What does that tell you? We didn't do the basics like you know how to do, and I know how to do. They just didn't do it.
Yep. John, I want you to hang on for a second. We'll go to Richard Barris because they've called the race. Decision Desk has already called the race 6 minutes into the count in New York City. I know you've got a lot of thoughts about that. Richard Barris, put it in perspective. You've been with us every election night since we started doing this back in 2018. Talk to us about your thoughts so far this evening.
And I'm listening to you and John talk, and I'm thinking back to election 2024. We knew it was over before anyone called it was over. We were sitting there, we were talking about the coalition, and I said then, and we all discussed it, the number one job for the Republican Party was to convince these voters that they are like Donald Trump and that they will follow Trump's lead, not to convince the voter that they're just going to go back to business as usual and we're going to make Donald Trump's administration and his agenda more like the Republican Party. The Republican Party is filled with losers. They were dead until Donald Trump came along and resurrected them like Lazarus. It was over. They're nothing. They don't have a base. I can't be anymore. Look, I've been screaming for months about this. And then you got clapping seals on one side. You got consultants making millions of dollars on the other side. And I'm telling you, Steve, John just said something 5 points behind Glenn Youngkin in your county, John Solomon, 5 points behind Mayoras Rand, and that was still remarkable considering how bad the candidate was at the top of the ticket. I've been saying this now for months. I don't care what's going on in Ukraine. I don't care what's going on in Venezuela. I don't care about any of this. These voters were, in Virginia, dramatically impacted by the shutdown. The MAGA agenda that these people voted for all over the country was designed to make their lives better. Pivot back to the people who voted for you and make their lives better, and maybe you can salvage this before it's too late. That's it. I mean, this is a bloodbath tonight. The House of Delegates is going to be a supermajority Democratic House of Delegates by the end of tonight.
Give us that right now. The House Delegates is going to be what?
It'll be a supermajority if this keeps up. Bobby Orrick's about to lose in HD 66, which is unbelievable. HD 71 is already gone. I mean, this is horrible. And people are out there like, these were blue states, New Jersey.
No.
As far as I know, I'm the only pollster who's been polling MAGA since you guys were running it back in 16 and doing something very special. And we also keep these databases of these voters that you guys appeal to. First-time voters, 56 years old. I mean, it's really remarkable. And we're looking at Pennsylvania back then, and it looked a lot like New Jersey after Trump was done with it in 2024. It didn't have to be this blue. All right, this idea like, we were underdogs to begin with, that is a cop-out. That is loser speak. End of story. This coalition could have changed the map like the Roosevelt coalition for 30 years. But people want to cling to this old style of of fake conservatism, which doesn't conserve anything anyway. What are you conserving? You've been slowly managing the decline of the country for decades. What's left to conserve? Donald Trump and MAGA is about restoration because you already destroyed it. People are hurting out there. They can't pay their bills. They come out of college thinking they did the right thing with enormous amounts of debt. A socialist was just elected in New York City, not because, the colleges did this and the colleges. I'm so sick. Those are all excuses. People were hurting. Cuomo would have beaten him in the primary if these people felt like somebody was addressing their concerns, right? And Donald Trump was it for a lot of these people. I mean, that's what it comes down to. That he was it. And Republicans needed to come to grips with this. We're 10 years into this movement, Steve, and there still are a ton of people who don't understand it's about Trump and it's about America first.
Barris, you got to bounce, but I'm gonna get you back before the top of the hour because I'm gonna go to New York City. I'm gonna get an early read on this from Joel Pollack out in California. You will come back to you. John Solomon's at our anchor desk in the DC studio. I now want to go to got David Zier. So David Zier, 6 minutes into a decision desk, which has got a pretty good track record. Call it from Mondami. Where do we stand on all this thing?
Well, right now you're looking at almost 50% from Mamdani with 52% of the vote in here. Cuomo is 41.5, and the Sliwa threshold is 8.1 right now. So Sliwa almost making up the difference for Cuomo to catch up here. But it was really interesting. Mamdani did so well in Brooklyn, up 25 points in Brooklyn and up 12 in the Bronx, Astoria, Greenpoint, Clinton Hill, Harlem, Crown Heights, Ridgewood, Greenpoint,
but hang on,
Park Slope, all in the 50 to 70% range for Mamdani.
Hang on a second. But here's how he's done it. He kind of took the Trump playbook to the Working Family Party and the DSA have a beast of a ground game. They've got thousands of people canvassing every day. They're bringing every potential. This is why in Brooklyn you're seeing these, in these other sectors of New York City, you're seeing these kind of numbers because Cuomo had all the money in the primary, had $40 million. This kid had nothing. It's about putting it together. And the Working Family Party and DSA are essentially Marxist entities. Okay, but they've got ground game. Just like the Bolsheviks know about ground game, these guys got it. They went and knocked on doors. They didn't rely on TV ads. And that's what you're seeing tonight. In the establishment in New York City, forget the Republican establishment. The Republican Party is irrelevant. But the business establishment, the financial community establishment, kept this dream going on that Eric Adams and Sliwa were going to drop out and give Cuomo a shot. It didn't materialize. In fact, Mamdani is going to claim a mandate because he's going to break 50%. Is he not, sir?
It looks that way, and if you take the early voting, it gradually got younger as the week went on. Little Bangladesh up in Washington Heights, and if you look at Astoria, and if you look at the Upper East Side, Upper West Side, all leading the pack in early voting. 80 to 100,000 volunteers from Mamdani. They may have knocked on 200,000 doors this past weekend with their crew. His social media presence are so well done. TikTok, Instagram, about 6 million followers just between the two. Sliwa or Cuomo didn't hold a candle to that. And I maintain that Cuomo probably didn't campaign hard enough. Sliwa accused him of hanging out in the Hamptons, but it doesn't maybe make a difference at this point. Maybe Cuomo did too little too late. And that big PAC money that originally went to Adams, I think a lot of it went over to Cuomo, but you need boots on the ground. Nobody had it like Mamdani. And it's just a fact. The DSA, the young kids, I interviewed 3 students at Pace University, these girls, they don't understand economics. They're from McMansions in the suburbs, and they're all whining that they want free apartments in New York City or to be able to afford here. But I get their angst and I get their pain because I have kids who live in New York City too, paying $5,000 a month for rent. It's very difficult, but they don't understand the dynamics, what got us here. But they see Mamdani, he's young, he's attractive, he can play soccer, he wants free tickets to fight for to the general public, to the FIFA thing next week, the World Cup next year. And, he's very popular. And that's the appeal with these DSA candidates, the young Turks. This is what's going on here. And they've got mass appeal. And I don't know if it's a tidal wave or not, but it is here in Manhattan tonight.
No, if you're not going to confront this early on, they should have confronted his naturalization, the whole citizen part of this, gotten into his dark money. The media is not going to do it for you. You got to do the tough work. If you're going to beat a guy like this, he's using unconventional methods. You got to use unconventional methods. And you have to out the fact that, by the way, NBC's reporting that I think 60% of the young Jewish vote under 35 is going to vote for Mandami. This is a guy that's a Marxist, a neo-Marxist, and a jihadist. David, hang on right there. John Solomon, in all your wisdom, brother, New York City, the global financial capital of the world, is now in the hands of a Marxist jihadist, sir, 24 years after you covered 9/11.
Yeah, well, it's what they were trained to do. What Mandami is inheriting is a 20-year, 25-year plan by the Soroses and other leftists in the Democratic Party to change the minds of our young children, to make Palestinians romanticized despite their terrorism, to make Americans and our great history and our great courage look like a moral evil. And they set the stage for these young people to actually be programmed to vote this way for a long time to come. Donald Trump interrupted that in 2024. And, you know, what Mandani did is exactly what Trump did. He went to the forgotten person. He said, I want your vote in 24. We didn't do that in 25. The conservatives and Republicans did not do that. And that's why they got swamped tonight. It's very simple. Republicans can come back for this just as quickly as they can fall apart from this. You got to go back to what makes people win elections. That is talking to people. Forget the ads. Forget the silly consultants. Donald Trump didn't need any consultants to win in 16 or 24. He did it by talking to the people that decide elections, often the ones we forget to talk to. Now, we talked to them here on this network. We knew the frustrations that people had that the Republicans hadn't delivered since Trump came in. Trump delivered, but the rest of the Republican Party didn't. We knew that because we're talking to them every day. But I'm not sure the consultants and the rhinos and the traditional base of the party knew that this frustration existed. They don't know what their children were programmed to vote like for the next 10 or 20 years. And so they didn't combat it. And you're going to take this extraordinary city that gave the entire world a belief in free markets, in capitalism, in innovation, in the American innovation cycle, and you're going to turn it into something that probably looks like a Soviet republic. And that is going to be shocking to the world. But it's an opportunity for Texas. Dallas could be the new financial capital of the world. Tennessee and Nashville could be the new Hollywood.
Miami.
Will people go do that? Yeah, Miami. Yeah, go fix it there. We can do this. We just aren't executing beyond Donald Trump. Downstream from Donald Trump, the execution is beyond weak.
Now, as you said at the beginning, and Bear said, and these are, I mean, you don't get darker blue than New York City. New Jersey has always been a blue state. President Trump started to bring it back, right, with a Herculean effort. The Commonwealth of Virginia used to be studied. You know, we had this a one-off with Youngkin when MAGA came together and actually got it done. We overperformed the 2020, or came close to performing the 2020 election. And of course, we're going to go to California here in a moment. That's another disaster for the Republican Party. What does it tell us about the Democrat strategy? They've got kind of a stronghold in Washington, D.C. I mean, my beloved Commonwealth of Virginia is essentially Washington, D.C. down to Fredericksburg. I mean, all Northern Virginia. This is massive. I think 6 of the 7 richest counties in the country surround Washington, D.C., and 3 of those are the big counties in Northern Virginia. New Jersey, obviously, the inner cities turned out today. New York City is New York City. And California, I'm hearing that we may lose the California Proposition 50, which I think is a total illegal scam, by 20 points. So your thoughts on how do we combat? You've got Trump, and of course he wasn't, you know, Mike Crispy tells us the consultants in New Jersey didn't want Trump anywhere around. He just had 100,000 people there to rally, you know, the summer before when he's running himself. So what are your thoughts about how do we engage with Trump? How do we get President Trump and get him into these blue areas where he's proven that he's got a track record in the past?
Listen, the base of the Democratic Party is now the government-dependent base. It isn't just welfare. It's the professors who get all those research grants and ridiculous amounts of money from NIH and other places to study things that are never going to make our life better. It's all the federal workers that keep growing on Republican administrations and not. If you wanted to clear out Northern Virginia and make Virginia red again, get rid of the damn federal workforce that you bloated since George W. Bush created the concocted Homeland Security Department, which is the most unconservative department in American history. So you look at what the Republican Party did. They allowed the Democrats to create a self-government funded base of the party, the nonprofit world, the welfare state, the educative state, which we give tons of money to now and make them all Democratic voters, and then the federal bureaucracy. Shrink the government, you'll shrink the base, because when they don't have money, they ain't going to have time to go out and vote. It is so simple, but Donald Trump hasn't really, listen, I'll call the president on this one. He really hasn't shrunk the government. It's still the same size as we took over. Yeah, great. We did a couple $2 billion here and there. The workforce is the same size. And it's going to be the same size unless someone grows a pair and starts cutting it. And you got to start cutting those university grants. Stop listening to the congressman who whine and say, those are my constituents. Say, no, these are the American taxpayers' dollars. That's what you got to do. We're not doing it. The conservative movement is not doing it. They talk a great game. They execute far less.
Let Trump be Trump. John Solomon at our anchor desk in Washington, D.C. Why don't you hang on for, well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a short commercial break. We're going to come back. We're going to go to New York City again and California to see how it's playing out. The polls in California, I think, close in 30 minutes. Joel Pollak's going to join us. We'll go back to David Zier. Short commercial break here on Real America's Voice. Election night coverage. Election night 2025. Back in a moment.
Is it salad? What was the other stuff you asked for?
Just steak, the hanger steak, potatoes, of whatever the vegetable they. Hey, Joe, how you doing, man?
Good, Steve. How are you?
Jersey, John Solomon has joined us, Richard Ferris. I want to go now to California. Joel Pollak joins us. Joel, you've got as good a sense of California as anybody in politics. I'm hearing rumblings, sir, that this could be quite a blowout on Prop 50 and be the springboard, not just for winning the House of Representatives, because we now know Virginia taking the lead is saying they're going to go to a 10-1 map. Wes Moore's already been on MSNBC saying he's calling together a commission to pick up at least a seat in Maryland. That's going to be a springboard for Gavin Newsom's 2028 run and the impeachment of President Trump in 26. Your thoughts, sir?
Well, this was definitely Gavin Newsom's play for 2028. And of course, he also wants to be seen as helpful to Democrats in 2026. The Republican delegation in California is now at 9 seats. It could go down to 4 seats as a result of this new map. A couple of the seats in the Central Valley will still be competitive, but Newsom is staking his claim to be the leader of the party, the man who put the party in a position to take the House and to stop the Trump presidency. Now, if you ask Newsom directly whether he wants to impeach the president, he'll say, oh, no, we just want oversight of the president. But we know it's not going to stop there. This is definitely an attempt to end the Trump presidency early by impeaching him. Of course, the Senate won't convict, but you never know what might happen. They're just going to try to stop everything Trump is doing. In large part, that's what this shutdown is about. Donald Trump and his cabinet members were going through every department and getting rid of DEI and putting pro-America, pro-growth policies in place, and doing so at an incredibly rapid rate. And that's part of the reason the shutdown happened. It was the only way Democrats could put the brakes on the reforms that Trump was making. And so this is Newsom's attempt to do that starting in January 2027. And he is looking toward 2028, and this is what he's doing. Now, the reason it's succeeding in California is that Newsom is able to frame this issue, the redistricting in California, as an attempt to stop Trump. It really is an attempt to disenfranchise California voters because it's taking away the votes and giving all the power to the politicians to choose their voters rather than the voters choosing who represents them. This reverses the referendum voters passed in 2008 to create an independent redistricting commission. Democrats figured out how to game that one as well. There was a whole article back in 2011 in ProPublica about how Democrats had gamed the supposedly independent commission by having lobbyists and activists pose as residents of communities saying the lines should be here or there. So Republicans lost seats even when they created this independent commission. But now that's not even good enough for Democrats, and they're just going all in for gerrymandering, even though it hurts California. And they're saying they're defending democracy, but it's kind of funny to defend democracy by eliminating the ability of the opposition to compete fairly. So that's going to be the result in California. And it's all about a play for the control of the House, stopping the Trump presidency, and Gavin Newsom's personal ambitions.
Hang on for a second. Joel, what percentage, I keep saying there's more MAGA voters in California than almost Texas and Florida combined. There's a massive amount of MAGA voters out there, and that's why I think Trump should have been engaged in this thing.
Stand by to be on air.
Schwarzenegger and then Charlie Munger's, I think, son, the physicist. This, in fact, Schwarzenegger could say his legacy was to get this commission going. California votes like it's 42%, 43% Republican, roughly like 42% overall. Yeah, and now you're going from 43 congressional districts and 9 Republican, 43 Democrat, 9 down to 48 and 4. Did the argument for kind of good government or some sort of fairness, did it ever get any traction, or was Newsom's just pure power politics? Because this is smash mouth. We don't care if 42 or 43% of the people are Republicans. We're going to take, basically 90% of the House seats, and then lead to a potential take the House, install a speaker, and go after Trump. Stop the Trump revolution in its tracks, and maybe also as a benefit impeach the president. And you're right; he won't be removed by the Senate, but at least impeach him again for the third time. Did the good government aspect of Schwarzenegger and these guys, did it ever get any real traction?
Good government in California, when Republicans try to introduce it, is like Lucy and Charlie Brown with the football, because the Democrats just take whatever Republicans do to improve the quality of government, and they turn it into a partisan exercise to benefit themselves and their party and keep themselves in power. That's just how it's run in California. And you're right. It's total smash mouth. By the way, don't believe any Democrat who tells you that this redistricting idea, that this map is a reaction to Texas. First of all, they passed this map before Texas had passed its map. But second of all, you don't just come up with a map like this on the fly. They had worked on this for months, maybe years, because you need to know where your voters are. You need to have the demographic data. You need to have the experts weigh in. You can't do that in 3 or 4 weeks. This was a project over the long term, and they used the Texas redistricting as an excuse to do it. It is their effort to get rid of what remains of the Republican delegation. You're right, it's going to about 10%, actually less than 10% of the total vote. Republicans, again, around 40% of voters, but less than 10% of the seats. And it's a travesty, really, because you can understand that in smaller states where you might only have 1 or 2 members of Congress, you might see Republicans shut out if Democrats win both seats. You'd kind of understand that with 1, 2, 3 seats. But with 52 seats, to have Republicans completely shut out, it's really abominable. And it takes our country further in the direction of division and conflict, frankly. I mean, not thankfully violent conflict, but it is getting to the point where we are splitting into two Americas. And the crazy thing about it is the courts might not be able to do anything about it. There are going to be court challenges to this on a variety of different grounds, but the Supreme Court may not be able to intervene in states determining their own method of districting or redistricting. And Kevin Kiley, a Republican who's likely to lose his seat in California, one of the smarter Republicans out there, he's got a bill in Congress that would prevent mid-decade redistricting. And Gavin Newsom just laughed at him and said, oh, well, you're just passing that bill because you want to save your own seat. Well, that's probably true, but it would also make the system more fair. It would be a good government system. Newsom just laughs at that. He's going for the presidency in 2028.
What, two things. Number one, if the president, you know California very well, you're also a great lawyer. If the president called you tonight and said, Joel, what do I do here by getting Harmeet Dillon and the Justice Department on top of this? What's your recommendation to the president?
Well, I think you've got to make an urgent appeal to the Supreme Court of the United States, because you could make the argument, and in fact, Harmeet Dillon's old law firm in California did make the argument, that what Newsom did violated the California Constitution and probably also the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. And I'll explain how very briefly. Voters passed a referendum in 2008 to take the power away from politicians and put it in the hands of this independent redistricting commission, which was supposed to represent the people directly. What the politicians did in passing this map through the legislature before the voters had reversed the independent commission, that meant that they were effectively usurping the powers of the commission unconstitutionally and unlawfully. Now they'll say, well, we won by a blowout margin. We passed Proposition 50. The voters clearly want this. So who cares if we did it unlawfully? The voters have spoken. And a court might have sympathy for that, might not want to intervene. Maybe the Supreme Court would decline to hear the case because Proposition 50 wins. But the fact is, the reason voters acted as they did in 2008 was to stop the elected politicians from running the redistricting maps. And what the elected politicians did was say, you know what, we're just going to take the power anyway. There's nothing you can do about it. And in a highly partisan environment, we're just going to reintroduce partisan gerrymandering. The other element they could do is say, well, there's a provision in this referendum, Proposition 50, that says, we're just suspending the independent redistricting commission. We're not getting rid of it. We're just suspending it. That's what they say. They say, we're not against independent redistricting. We're just putting it off for 6 years. It's temporary. It's temporary. And I don't know that there's any legal basis.
Game respects game. I love that one. Real quickly, Joe, we got to go to break. A couple things. Do you agree, Joel Pollak, that tonight at midnight the midterms start? The midterm race for 2026 starts after we hear from California?
Well, I think the 2028 presidential race has started, because if you look at what Newsom is doing and you look at J.B. Pritzker in Illinois, right now it's a race to the bottom to see who can be more insulting to President Trump, who can attack him more. And Newsom right now takes the edge, because not only is he going on social media and behaving like a jerk, but he's actually delivering results for the party, not for the state. But Newsom's gamble is that what Democrat primary voters want in 2028 is a fighter. They don't care whether you have a record of achievement. And of course, Newsom doesn't have a record of achievement. He has a record of underachievement. You know, after 8 years, where's the high-speed rail? Where are the dams? Where are the reservoirs? Where are the electric vehicles he promised? You know, there's none of that. He doesn't do anything. All he does is troll Republicans, but he's taken the lead now as the master troll. So tonight, the 2028 Democratic presidential primary begins.
Okay, you nailed it too. And he's going to show people, hey, I'm the one that stopped Trump, and I'm the one that's going to lead to his impeachment. Joel Pollak, talk to me about, can we talk about the California Post for a second before we go to break?
Yes, sir. So,
what is it? It's my favorite Post tabloid in New York. What, we going tabloid in California?
Yes, we are. We're going tabloid in California and starting the New California Post early next year, building out the team right now. And they came to me, you know, I was very happy at Breitbart, and they gave me a lot of freedom, and I was doing some great coverage. I was on the ground in Israel. In fact, I'm going back there next week. I'm going to go into some very dangerous places and write about what's happening with the ceasefire. But California is very important, not just politically for the nation, but, my neighborhood was burnt down in the Palisades fire. My house survived, but I've got to repair it. And the neighborhood, the community was basically displaced, destroyed. And that happened because of a series of government failures. It wasn't just a natural disaster. And report after report is coming out now this week about how the firefighters weren't in position. And when they got into position, they were called off. They were told not to finish putting out the fire. The police weren't there. The mayor was out of the country.
Joel, hang on. But everywhere around the country, in fact, people around the world are asking me, how in a place that you had the disaster like the Palisades and the Palisades fire, did you possibly have the Democrats come back and looks like in this proposition tonight are going to have a blowout when they made Trump the issue and the Republican Party ran away from Trump and wouldn't even let him in the state to run? How do we have a party do all their coastal commissions and all their decisions basically manifested in the Palisades fire and then screwed all the progressives up in the Palisades with what they've done for the redevelopment since then? And a couple of months later, 6 months later, we're going to have a blowout win of a guy like Gavin Newsom, who I would argue is the guy maybe principally responsible for this, sir.
Well, Pacific Palisades is a conservative community. By that I mean only 75% voted for Kamala Harris in the last election. But on a more serious note, 2/3 did vote for Rick Caruso in the last mayoral election, and only 1/3 voted for Karen Bass. So it's more moderate on the Democratic side in Pacific Palisades. The problem in California is that you don't realize what's going on in the state until something bad happens to you, but it happens bit by bit, piece by piece. There really isn't a statewide voice that reflects what's really going on. We have these big local media markets, but there's nothing between those local media markets and the national media market. So Newsom is able to make a statewide issue all about President Donald Trump, Democrats, Republicans on the national level, while he's disenfranchising California voters and reducing their voice. And that's why the California Post exists, is to create a new impression, a new mirror to hold up to the state. And it's very exciting to be part of it.
Well, you were there with Andrew when we started Breitbart News, the news site, and you were our senior editor after Andrew died to take it. So you know how to build organizations. It's going to be great. So happy for you, and look forward to following you closely at the California Post. Thank you. By the way, what's your Twitter feed so people can follow you on your travels?
It's at Joel Pollak, JoelPollak.
Joel, thank you very much for joining us tonight from California. Those polls are going to close momentarily. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a short commercial break. We're going to return. We're going to New York City. We're going to Texas. We're going back to John Solomon. We got a lot going on here. A lot more. We got Texas, California. Next up, here at Real America's Voice, the War Room on Election Night Coverage 2025. back with election coverage. I got my wingman. I got Solomon in D.C. I got Dave Bratt. Dave Bratt, give me a couple of pearls of wisdom before we throw it to Texas.
Yeah, well, you and Solomon were getting at something particular to Virginia, D.C. swamp, the 7 richest counties. But even a little deeper than that with the uniparty logic, right? You know, the governor, the Republican, lost 7 points worse than Trump performed in 24. So there's an outperformance problem. But the real thing is the uniparty, right? Youngkin, got all the check writers. Go check on those check writers from the big energy companies, hint, hint. The lawyers, the major check writers that supported Youngkin, and see if they supported Sears. And you probably find no. And then Spanberger is no threat to that, right? She keeps the swamp in full tilt. And so all the money's there. And what the voters don't get, what Trump put through, right? Trump won African-American, Hispanic, blue-collar workers because he went out and talked to everybody and went over the heads of everybody. But what people don't get now is the Republican Party is not the party, the old country club, reversion club, right? The swamp in Virginia thinks, okay, we lose someone like Brad, he goes away, and then next time we'll win a Democrat. No. It's all different in Virginia now. The structure of Virginia is totally corrupted. I can't think of a sector Republicans can go after, right? I mean, you got the Second Amendment folks, police, firemen, etc. But the Fortune 500 CEOs, for example, are 75% Democrat now. The CEO class, and we haven't made that case. Trump makes that case in a clever way. That's just all American. And then the Magnificent Seven, right? The trillionaire class, except for Elon. All of the trillionaire class is on the left now and dumping money. And we need to break it up, like Solomon said. I'm not sure Youngkin did anything to break up all the tentacles to the uniparty and the money. And Virginia is really susceptible to the uniparty like no other state. That is the unique reason. Right, if you look at the northern counties and the city, even down to Fredericksburg, Spanberger's winning by 45%, all of them. And then if you look at the rurals, any of the rurals around Western Richmond or whatever, Winsome Sears wins by 50%, but they're all small. And so all the big money is now, on the left, and we need to make that point, and we need to blow it up in about 2 more years, or it's structurally built into cake. And the uniparty chooses its candidates very well, right? They choose the Republicans. I think, the Paul Ryan types, they don't bust up any of the swamp.
Brad, if you talk this well when you ran against Spanberger and she kicked your ass, she wouldn't have been a governor tonight. Just kidding, sir. God, okay, just chill.
Right.
I'll come back to you. You're great. You're great. Just hang on. Dave Bratt, we owe Spanberger's rise to power came on Dave Bratt's back. Paul Ryan gave her the ladder. Stick right there. Let's go to Texas. We got Grant Stinchfield and I think Glenn Story. Give us some good news in Texas, boys. What's happening?
Well, I'll tell you what, Steve, it's always good to see you. And I am with the Patriot Mobile boys and, of course, gals. Jenny Story, COO, Glenn Story, Scott Chief, marketing officer here. A lot of good news. We got a very conservative candidate who looks like is going to go into a runoff for a state Senate seat. But I think, Steve, the bigger story is what Patriot Mobile is doing specifically in Texas to save Texas with conservative candidates. Because, Glenn, I'll ask you, if we don't save Texas, this country's lost without this state.
That's absolutely gone. And I mean, that's really our focus today is saving the state of Texas, because without our electoral votes, it doesn't matter what happens in Arizona and other places. So we're fighting as a company.
One of the scary things, Scott, is we only had, I think it's like 8% turnout right now. That's a problem. And we're known as a state that we should be turning people out.
That is a problem. And right here in Texas, we do have a problem. And if people don't get out and vote, it's going to be an even bigger problem. We need to wake up, like right now. People need to look at this and say, hey, what's at stake right now? We got a lot going on. We got some midterms coming up next year. If people don't wake up, we're going to be right back in the mess that we were in a few years back. We got work to do.
We got to be prepared for the post-Trump
country. And everyone is basically resting on the laurels of Trump. And they're saying, we don't have to get off our couch, but if we got to think about what happens in the post-Trump country. And that's why Steve came to Texas, because he realizes how important it is to keep this state red, even though it's kind of purple.
You know, you guys told me Steve came out here, and he's literally like a few miles down the road from me. I didn't get a call from Steve here in Texas. But, Steve, I think you know when it comes to Patriot Mobile, this is what this company is about. You know, they're big sponsors of helping us put this broadcast on air tonight, and they are committed. I know you know these folks individually, and I don't know of a company more committed to saving America, Steve.
Well, Grant, here's the thing that concerned me when I went out. I was trying to be under the radar just to get a feel for things. Texas, and you know, Trump won by 14. Ted Cruz, he pulled Ted Cruz up by 11 and 24. Tarrant County, as you know, is, I think, one of the most important counties in the country. I was shocked at how moderate to liberal the Republican establishment is down there in the Texas House and the Senate, and quite frankly, with all these other issues going on, particularly the encroachment now of this new, obviously, focus of, it looks like, if not the Muslim Brotherhood, then aspects of Islam coming to Texas. I mean, we've got a fight on our hands. That's why tonight is so important. Texas may be the one place in these amendments and a couple of these Senate seats that we get some good news, because the rest of the country right now is going to look like a bloodbath, sir.
Steve, I'll tell you, I think the rest of the country needs to learn from Texas's mistakes on exactly what you brought up. The Texas legislature is run by Democrats, and Republicans have a virtual supermajority. And yet you've got moderate Republicans working with Democrats to steal control of the state legislature. And you know, before I throw it back to you, Glenn, I'll ask you, how does Patriot Mobile help to stop that? You're talking about conservative candidates. We need it at a state legislature level here in Texas.
Well, look, we start with telling the truth. That's why we like to talk to the guys at the War Room, because the War Room posse, they want to hear the truth, and we like to tell the truth because, look, if we can't elect folks at the local level that are qualified, that really want to save our country and save our state, if they don't put God first in country and state, look, that's the biggest thing that I think and that's why we're here at Lee Wamsgang's senatorial race.
And she's about as conservative as it gets. She will be a real fighter in the Texas Senate. And I guess, Jenny, let me just ask you before I let you guys go, because I know you guys are going out tomorrow for some award ceremonies. It's not just Texas. I know you guys are based here, but you're putting this kind of effort in the states across the country.
Oh, absolutely. It's through the causes that we support. It's through the causes that we support that we actually are helping other conservative candidates. We were just at the National Association of Christian Lawmakers, and a lot of those folks are the guys that are putting the Ten Commandments bills in place, or laws, that we then go and we backfill those posters and get them into the schools. So it's really a lot of these organizations that we support and the collaborative efforts that really help the nation and the national candidates.
Well, I just am so grateful for all of your commitment, your company's commitment to America, to Texas, to Real America's Voice, and everybody else out there. So patriotmobile.com/RAV. Make sure you get a Patriot Mobile phone. Thank you, guys. We appreciate you coming on. Absolutely. So, Steve, I think there is good news from Texas. You got Lee Wamsgans, who looks like she's going to go into a runoff. That's a good thing. She'll get there. She'll win that. This is a pretty conservative district. And then we move forward. I don't think Democrats are in a position yet to take Texas, but you take the eye off the ball in this state, you know, as we've seen, you can lose anything in an instant, and we're not taking our eye off it here, Steve.
Grant, you hang on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to short commercial break. We're going to go to New York and maybe California. I want to come back to you. We'll find out about Lee and make sure that thing's locked in. Also, Brian Harrison is going to talk to us about some of the other races. Grant Stinchfield in Texas at Lee Wamsgang's headquarters. We got some good news maybe coming out of Texas. Short commercial break. We're going to go back to New York to the America First warehouse. We're going to hear from some of the folks that are going to have to live with a neo-Marxist jihadist as the mayor of New York City unless we get to work and make sure that we check his citizenship. Short commercial break. Back in a moment. Damon?
Test. Can you hear me, Steve?
Hey, Damon, I hear you.
All right, buddy. I hear you too.
I'm gonna come and toss it to you, and let's get some audience participate. Your thoughts first, and then some audience.
Solomon's leaving in 20.
Okay, tell Solomon to hang. I'm gonna go to 6B, and then come right back to him. Okay.
He's going to come back to him.
Steve, you're coming to 6B or 8H? Which one?
Well, hold. Did somebody tell me you're 6B? Are you 8H?
No, 6B is correct. I just joked.
Oh no, that's what I said the other day. God.
We love you.
Damon, you guys take this. I'm going to be with you, but you guys take it for about 10 minutes and give it back to me. I'll jump in. I got to go to John Solomon before he punches out.
Okay, you got it. So, where's Harry? Do we have somebody other than you?
Welcome back. It's election night 2025. You're here in the War Room, Real America's Voice, continuing coverage of election night. We're going to go to Damon in Studio 6B at the America First Warehouse. Brother, it was just announced that Alvin Bragg has now won another term with 74% of the vote to continue on as the prosecutor, the DA in Manhattan. Damon, give me your overall assessment of what you guys are feeling tonight, knowing that a neo-Marxist jihadist is going to be the mayor of the greatest city on earth, sir.
Yeah, well, we're all ready to fast for Ramadan here, Steve. That's looks like what it's going to be. So, there's a lot of questions tonight, obviously, on New York City. But Steve, one of the things, you said Trump's the greatest political asset in political history, and he's going unused. And I think that's one of the questions again tonight. Is there a viable Republican Party? Or is it just the Trump party? Is tonight another reminder of that? The Democrats know one thing. They know if they cover up their radicalism, they can take a bad economy and they can run on it and they can win. And I'll tell you the other thing that stands out to me, Steve, tonight, is you look at Mark Robinson in North Carolina, what he said, sexist, racial things online. Voters rejected him by 15, 16 points in that race. Jay Jones fantasized about murdering Republicans and their kids, and he won. So I don't know what else you need to know that these people are the enemy, but that is what I take out of this so far tonight.
No, it's pretty dramatic, and I got to tell you, you mentioned about Trump and the Trump party and the Republican Party. While you're still letting these Republican Party people and these consultants make decisions, I happen to believe that if we'd run the same strategy as in 2021 and President Trump had gotten very involved, you would have seen a much different outcome. Particularly, you're having a bloodbath now in the House of Delegates in Virginia, and this is going to come back on a national level because Spanberger and these radical Democrats are going to try to go to a 10-1 redistricting in the Commonwealth. And you couple that with California, what Wes Moore said tonight out of Maryland, you're going to have a dogfight in 2026. The midterm started midnight, but I got to tell you, it's going to be a dogfight. I definitely think, Damon, he would have made a huge impact in New Jersey. I mean, he had New Jersey trending our way. He had 100,000 people on kind of a windy day down at the shore in Jersey, and he was never used. The consultants around Jack never wanted to bring him into the campaign, and President Trump did, I think, one teletown hall at the end. So you're seeing the impact of this right now, and it's going to be catastrophic. In California, they completely blocked President Trump. When if you got a third of the MAGA voters to turn out, you would have stopped this Proposition 50. So you're seeing it right there. Damon, I guess you got some audience members that have been there all night with you guys. You want to take some questions or some comments?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Steve. Let's go out over to Kevin Downey Jr., who's with a great patriot that a lot of people here at the America First Warehouse know. Kevin, take it away.
Thank you, Big D. Folks, we've got Joe the Box, the man, the legend behind the America First Warehouse. Let's hear it for Joe. He did this, the most patriotic venue on the planet. Joe, there's a communist about to take over New York City. What are your thoughts?
I got to tell you, I'm so glad that I live on Long Island. It's about 30, 45 miles away from the Big Apple. But I spend a lot of time in it. I make my money driving trucks. My company is in and out of New York City. And I got to tell you, the last couple of weeks, I feel like I'm in a different country. There's more scooters and things running around. And I'm like, where are these scooters coming from? You know, I'm driving a big truck, and I would hate to accidentally run some of them over. So my question is, are they really voting correctly in New York City? Molly Hernick tells us there's over 400,000 more votes than registered voters. Are we really just going through this game of motions and playing the game? Because I'm a little tired of it.
Yeah, I hear you. I got to be honest, Joe. I know a little bit about New York City history. I don't know that there's been a fair election in the 5 boroughs since Tammany Hall.
I'm not sure where Tammany Hall was. You must be way older than me.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a bad day. Let's look at it this way, though. I mean, these were blue states and blue cities, so we can't be too shocked. But the fact that an Islamo-communist is taking over New York City 24 years after they knocked down the Twin Towers, I think that's disgusting. Where do you stand on this?
Oh, my goodness, you got to be kidding me. Where do I stand on this? There's only one God. Our nation was developed under Judeo-Christian values. America was built on our founding fathers, built the country on Jesus Christ and the Judeo-Christian values. There's no other God allowed, acceptable, should be allowed into this country. What does that make me? It makes me a Christian American patriot. That's what it makes me.
Absolutely. All right, now let me ask you this, Joe. Is this the end of New York City? Can we bounce back?
Oh, I don't think it's going to last too long in there because it's going to be so disgraceful. Nobody's going to be in there. Who's going to go to a Broadway play? Honey, let's back it up. We're going to go to dinner and have a Broadway play. I'm not even going to think about it. I'm going to drive through New York City. I'm going to pick up and drop off my shipments, and I'm going to charge double from now on.
There's going to be an exodus. All right. Thanks, Joe the Box. Thank you for everything. Back to you, Big D.
All right,
Back to you, Big D.
All right, Kevin Downey Jr., thanks. We'll get another Patriot over set up with Kevin to talk about what's happened here tonight in New York. But let me get to the guys here. Delgado, you heard what I said when Steve asked me. You know, you look at the Republicans tonight. We saw what happened in Virginia. We saw what happened in New Jersey. We talked earlier in the show about the fact that Republicans just thought, well, we got a lot of registrations in New Jersey, so everything must be trending our way. Trump's not on the ballot. Low propensity voters stay home. I know some people think that Trump may stick around in 2028, but I think the reality is that Trump's not going to be on the ballot again. So what do we do when Trump's not on the ballot to get voters out in races like this?
That's a great question because we saw what happened when he's not engaged, right? We just saw what happened tonight. He's not engaged. The people don't come out. So what does that tell you? Well, you throw out everything that you just did because we just figured out that doesn't work, and you get the guy involved. He'll probably be more than happy to show up, do some rallies, get into your neighborhoods, get out, get your people out, and make sure they show up to vote because that's the winning formula. It's not hard. This stuff is not hard. He showed you how to do it, laid it out the plan. All you got to do is say, hey, Mr. President, would you mind showing up? Don't listen to a consultant because they're there just to screw things up. That's what they do. They're consultants because they weren't successful doing what you're trying to do. Run for office. So stay away from consultants. Go to the people that win. You want to do what winners do? It's very simple. You hear this from top-level people all the time. What do you want to do if you want to win? Look what the winners are doing and do what they just did because they've already figured it out. It's not hard. So they've got to get him involved. And I think part of it, too, he has to step up and say, you know what? I'm going to step up, Jack Citarelli. I'm going to make sure you take New Jersey because that should have been mine last year.
I think, Paul, the story tonight is not so much the overall result, because again, Republicans are in charge of everything. They're going into states that obviously the Democrats won and control. So it's an uphill climb from the jump. But I think what the story tonight is the margins across the board that they won by, the underperformance of the candidates. And I think what MTG talked about, by the way, you look at some of these local races across the country, the Republicans losing the 2 seats in the PSC tonight in Georgia. I think that might be a bigger red flag than maybe some of the top level overall gubernatorial races, which I don't think anyone is overly surprised by. And again, I think what we're surprised by is they're getting called at 9:04 and 8:06, and these things are just done, and the underperformance of the candidates tonight might be the thing that sticks out.
Well, we kind of liken it to the midterm curse. We've seen it since World War II. The bounce back after a Republican comes in, or the Democrat comes in. I still don't understand why you talk about messaging all the time. Why is there not a unified messaging and a localized version of "Make America First"? Like, for example, Jersey. We're going to bring job independence and deregulation here to Jersey. Okay, we're going to get rid of illegal immigrants in Jersey. We're going to make Jersey first, and we're going to fight tooth and nail with that federalist mentality. Where is that messaging that could be across the board, but it still plays to the 5 major tenets of being MAGA, which was so successful? Where is that? Where is the unification on that? And why can't we see a little more, more alignment through, Trump right down through it, and just get in line at this point, because we truly need to keep the government.
Well, where's the overall vision?
Hey, Damon.
Yeah,
Damon, hang on for 1 second. I got to get to Solomon before he punches, but I just want to spend a second, and we're going to come back to you guys. You nailed something that's very important. The midterms start tonight. One of the biggest warning signs that we've got that we need to get focused is these two commissioners in Georgia that MTG mentioned. Yep. I don't think they've ever won, and she says the first time in 30 years that Democrats have won a statewide election. I don't think they've ever had commissioners been Democrats in a couple of decades. That is a warning that this thing is going to cut deeper than just, as you said, hey, we're losing. These are blue states. They're heavily blue states, particularly my Commonwealth of Virginia. But it's the margins, and also as this thing spreads down to Georgia. Give me a minute on that.
Yeah, no, I think that's the thing tonight. I don't think anyone's necessarily surprised on the overall outcomes, but I think it's the margin, it's the underperformance, and I think it's just the vision from the Republicans overall, Steve. It's not like we don't have big things that need answers to. Think about what we have to fight right now. We have property taxes. We have the moratorium on immigration. We have immunity. We have mandates. We have the general health care vision, with the Republicans have absolutely no vision on health care whatsoever. You have a multi-frontal assault on landowners, farms, ranch. There's so many things that this party should be focused on. If we can't make red states as red as they can make blue states blue, we are in trouble. It doesn't matter how many voters we register. If we don't give them a reason to come out to vote, it doesn't make a difference.
Damon, hang on for 1 second. I'm going to come back to you guys. I want to go to John Solomon in our anchor desk in Washington, D.C., our D.C. studios. John, your closing thoughts. I know you got to bounce. You're working on a lot of these investigations that we're going to pick up tomorrow.
Good Comey story in the morning.
What's your overall? You and Natalie rode shotgun with me a year ago tomorrow, right? We had the greatest comeback in American history, and now tonight we got a reality check, sir. What do you think?
Yeah. Listen, I think you can sum it up in the experience of two candidates. There's a lesson to learn in Jason Mewes. He leaned into Donald Trump, not away from him. Republicans have to stop leaning away from the leader of their party and the leading message that wins their party there, or wins that popularity among the masses in America. And then the other is Mamdani. Whatever you want to say about Mamdani's radicalism, he did 3 things. He got new people to the poll in gigantic numbers, just like Donald Trump did last year. He stayed focused on the economy and making America affordable again. That's what the Trump team and the Congress needs to be focused on. And 3, he remained consistent. He didn't flip-flop. He didn't listen to consultants. He went with his instinct, and he came off as authentic. Even if it's crazy authentic, he's authentic. So you learn in Mamdani's victory and in Jason Mewes' significant overperformance compared to any other Republican tonight, some really valuable lessons if you're a Republican. The question I have is, will they listen? Will this be a wake-up call, or will they yawn and move on? Big things are on the horizon. Tomorrow the Supreme Court's going to hear The tariff case, that's a historic case that could change things. The Louisiana apportionment case will be big. I thought Joel Pollack made out a good point. Will the 14th Amendment be used by the Justice Department to invalidate some of the redistricting pushes? Tonight, the Republicans lost a chance to reclaim the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. They didn't work hard enough, just like they didn't work hard enough in April with the Wisconsin Supreme Court. Those courts are going to decide a lot of the electoral issues in 28. How many more courts are going to flip between now and 28? Those are all questions that someone that's the chief political strategist for the president has to answer quickly and get back to what the winning strategy was. Tonight is so different than 1 year ago tonight because the strategy that the Republican Party pursued was so radically different and so radically underwhelming. And by the way, the Democrats got back to what they're good at, street politics. That's what they're good at. That's what Barack Obama was, a street organizer. So Democrats are going to keep doing this. This is how they win elections. They get out the vote. Republicans have to get back to that machine and get back to the economic populism that got them to where they were last November 5th.
John Solomon, what are your coordinates? How do people track you down at Just the News and everything you're breaking here on these investigations?
Yeah, justthenews.com. We'll have a big story tomorrow morning revealing that there is an FBI investigation into the hiding of those documents in the burn bags and the that skiff-like room. That's the first time we've been able to get that. We got the electronic communication. We'll make that public tomorrow. That was a question you asked me today. We got to the bottom of it. And then Jay Solomon reports on all social media platforms.
Okay, John Solomon, we'll see you tomorrow and get you on tomorrow.
Thank you, my friend.
And start grinding for the midterm, sir. And by the way, I think if anybody in the administration knows that we're burning daylight on these investigations. Now more than ever, I hope folks realize you got a finite amount of time to do this. Sir, thank you so much. Let's take a short commercial break here. I want to thank Birch Gold. We love Birch Gold. Birch Gold, the sponsor of the War Room. Take your phone out right now and text Bannon at 989898. Get the ultimate guide for investing in gold and precious metals. They got all the ways you can do it with tax deferred, low taxes. If you're going to buy physical gold, 401ks, IRAs, you can roll it all in, tax deferred. Talk to Philip Patrick and the team at Birch Gold. Short commercial break. We're going to go back to Studio 6B at the America First Warehouse out on Long Island to get some New York folks to tell us what they think about a neo-Marxist and jihadist as the mayor of the greatest city in mankind's history, New York City. Back in a moment. back to Real America's Voice and the War Room coverage of Election Night 2025. Let's go to Mike Crispy. Mike, you're in New Jersey at the headquarters there for the campaign. Just one more time, I want to get into this, that the consultants really didn't want Trump involved, and now you're seeing the carnage that is wrought by that. Your thoughts, sir?
Yes, well, I've been talking to the folks in the hall here tonight, Steve, and everybody shares the same sentiment that if we want to go forward, we need to rip this thing down and we need to rebuild it. We need to get the same people who have been doing races in politics for the last 20 years, the neocons, the Cheney people, everybody who's, have been in the last couple of years saying that we need to run away from Trump. Those people, I think, after tonight, need to be permanently banished from our party, from our movement, from our campaigns, and from our elections. All they do is waste donor money. The people have had it. Everybody here tonight is saying, what could we have done different? What could we have done better? How did they run up the score so high in communities? And then in the rural communities here, we didn't get the turnout we needed to match it. How did that happen? And we know why that happened, Steve. One, I think the consultants are afraid to go into some of these places that President Trump makes appeals in the Hispanic communities and so forth. And two, we don't have the unabashed MAGA platform that has been unleashed on the voters in these campaigns. Winsome Sears, same story with the Chitterelli campaign, where the consultants wanted to hold back the candidate from embracing these things, from bringing Trump into the state. President Trump made historic gains in New Jersey. He got 2 million votes in the 2024 election. There's no reason why the right campaign with the right message, with the right strategy, can engage all of those people to come back out. We can at least get 1.8 million of them and have this thing. It's a sad time in New Jersey. We got to rebuild here and in Virginia, and many elements of the party, Steve, need to be eradicated for good.
Mike, fantastic coverage tonight. What is your social media handles? I want people to be able to cover to find you, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much, Steve. Again, it's an honor to be with you. And at Mike Crispy, that is at Mike Crispy. You can follow me on X for all the latest here. And we broadcast Last Call on Saturday nights on Real America's Voice, and we're fighting the fight in New Jersey. We're not going to give up. We've only just begun. MAGA will rule again in this state.
No, I think you're right. I think we have to have, there's discussion in some of these states. Are you going to be MAGA, or are you going to be back to the old Republican Party, the neoliberal, neocon globalists, where you're just going to get smoked every time? I mean, Trump has given us a way forward, right? The subtitle of tonight's coverage, The Path Forward. The path forward's got to be with Trump, with MAGA, with economic populism, nationalism, all of it. You don't have a choice. Other than that, you're going to be controlled opposition like you used to be before Trump came on the scene. Mike Crispy, thank you so much, brother. Fantastic. Let's go to David Zier. David Zier's in Manhattan at the Cuomo headquarters. Brothers, it's starting to set in that a neo-Marxist jihadist 24 years after 9/11 is now going to be the mayor-elect of New York City, sir?
Not with the people who voted for him, apparently, and he wants to get rid of the counterterrorism division in the NYPD, which is just brutal. And, we've spoken about the elaborate 40-year history of Islamic terror in New York, going back to the Al Farouk Mosque and all the attacks. It's really important that we stay vigilant on that. It's amazing how fast the Democrats can count votes when Trump isn't running. They're already at 90% of the vote in here from Mamdani here, with almost 2 million votes coming in here. And I just wanted to reference this Daily Mail poll. They're estimating that up to maybe 9% of the New York City population will leave New York City now. And like Michael Goodwin had a great article talking about the long, slow decline, the creep of the sour decline of New York that may be ahead of us here. And listen, these are Gen Zers. Mamdani's going to have 20, 30-year-olds running City Hall here. His consultants were young. Outside of the fight agency with the Katzes, his consultants were young, making $12,000 a month. They were all over the place.
But David, hang on, David. They don't care. I think this is the thing. Do you think Mamdani and the Bolsheviks, the neo-Marxists and the jihadists that just took over, are going to take control of New York City? Do you think they care if they lose 10% of the population? Because I don't think they care. They don't care. People think all these Republicans sitting there with their bow ties and been sitting there going, oh, we want a socialist in charge so we can see how people fail. They're Bolsheviks. They're not going to give up control of New York City. Once they're embedded, once they infest New York City, it's going to take a trenching tool to get them out, sir.
I think what's at the core of this is that the American dream is fleeting for the younger generation. They have student loan debt that's double what it was 30 years ago, and they're coming out making the same money they did 30 years ago. They can't buy a house at 5.75%. They're looking for Mamdani. They're looking for Fateh in Minneapolis. They're looking for these blue city leaders to give them a break. But they're being exploited by that pseudo message. Mamdani, right? A 12th Sharia, right? And, what's going on here is a massive movement. It's not going away. It's like on the MAGA side, they got, the Gen Zers and the increase in votes and Turning Point, and that's great. But there's a whole nother side, an army of kids, maybe with parents who aren't so great, who've been indoctrinated in the system. And then you come out with stuff like this, promising free stuff. Now, there was a charter amendment that passed also tonight, that stripping the New York City Council to make it easier to get quicker zoning for builders, big donors to Mamdani, to build partially publicly funded affordable housing. And you wouldn't need affordable housing if the tax burden and the progressive leftist bureaucratic policies that have destroyed New York State didn't exist. And that's what's going on here. They're doubling down on it. They're milking it for everything it's worth to achieve some type of revolution. And they're exploiting the young people. And I feel for these young people. I interview them all over. And, they can't pursue the American dream. And they're 40 before they're starting families. I had 3 kids at 23. I bought a house at 27. Those days are long gone until Trump's economy kicks in again. And we got 4% interest rates.
But one thing, look, there's part of this generation that are fantastic, but there's another part, the credential class, that are completely, they're neo-Marxist. You're David, you're going to have, I think, 60 to 65% of young Jewish voters under 30 years old vote for Mamdani. Right? I think 38% of Jewish voters overall are going to vote for him. So the progressive left, they're already there. They're trending right now is woke is back, right? Woke is back. So these people have been so indoctrinated through the New York public school system and private school system which they've been taught by terrorists, okay? That's what's formed them. And now they're going to have a government, that they believe in. They're going to have a government that it's not just free stuff. This is going to be the wokest city on planet Earth. You have this guy Mamdani is a neo-Marxist and a jihadist. Think about the Red-Green Alliance that we've talked about for a long time, that Trevor Loudon and Frank Gaffney and Raheem Kassam warned you that Sadiq Khan was the model of that in London, and look what he's turned London into. That's what New York City is going to be London in less than 10 years, I think in about 5 years. And so unless you denaturalize Mamdani, which I don't understand why DHS and the State Department are not burning the midnight oil right now to look into that and shipping back to Uganda immediately, you're going to have massive problems in New York City, sir.
Yeah, and my acquaintance, not so close of a friend, but I respected him a lot. Rich Higgins, working for the National Security Council, wrote The Watermelon, the paper. McMaster fired it for it, and it was under the first Trump administration, and Trump loved the paper. And it's about that watermelon. And it's green for the Islamic State on the outside, and it's red for the Marxist, progressive, communist movement that is a global effort here. And I just wanted to add one thing, Steve. Crime in New York City. Jessica Tisch can't do enough, right? She's handcuffed. Rapes are up 19% in New York City. 65,000 New Yorkers have been assaulted, felony and misdemeanor assaults so far this year to date in New York City. D.A. Bragg only has a 35% conviction rate. He won with a mandate again against Maud Marin, who I was with last week. And this is what's going on. They're committing suicide. So businesses won't come here. Businesses won't stay here. And then everybody's really going to be screwed. So unless there's some way to change the situation or at least get out of it in the next year or two, I don't see New York doing very well.
David, hang around. We're going to come back to you. Let's go to Damon at Studio 6B at the America First Warehouse on Long Island. Damon, you got it. I think we got I think Brandon Straka is there, some other great members of the audience. What do these guys think?
Yeah, Brandon Straka walked away, so he's actually not here. No pun intended. But Steve, just quickly on Mondami, I'm with you. I'm with you totally on this guy. This guy's policies have nothing to do with equality. They're everything to do with dominance. This is not progressive. This is a takeover. It's all about submission in New York, and that's, I think, what we're going to see. But we do have some Patriots here at the America First Warehouse. Kevin Downey Jr.'s got one right now. Kevin, who you got?
Big D, we got Patriot Todd here. Patriot Todd, thank you so much for stopping in. As you know, an Islamo-communist is running New York City quite soon. Mom Downey won. What do you think this means for New York City? You're a New Yorker. What does it mean?
Yes, sir, Kevin. Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here. And, listen, Marjorie Taylor Greene said it best when she was here earlier. The Democrats now have a new villain. It's a face of the Democrat Party. The spotlight is shining on it. What do we have to blame? Cuomo. Honestly, Cuomo dragged his feet during the primary. I put this on him. I really do. And I think Curtis, would have done a great job. I think there's a big future for Curtis. He could run a tighter campaign. We need to learn from Trump. Donald Trump himself ran the most successful campaign in history. What do we learn? He's a builder, okay? We build things. It takes time to build things. Everybody nowadays, they want instant gratification. You get a guy like Zoran Mandami on, we're going to free this, free that, everything instant, right? Am I right?
Hang on. Am I going crazy? I just heard you give a shout out to Curtis Sliwa. In what universe does he get a shout out tonight? You could argue that his ego, that's the gap between taking out Mandami. So how does Curtis Sliwa, on anything but a massive ego, 8 or 9, 10% of that vote was critical? Why do you give him a shout out? Why does he get a high five?
Respectfully, sir, listen, I know we're recycling people in these campaigns, but he is the Republican, and I got to get behind him. He's got a down ticket. There are people that are counting on the Republicans, and, okay, maybe we can't thank Curtis, but we need to get some fresh faces out there, some people that can reverberate with the young people, especially in New York. Look at what this guy has done. He came before. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. He's like a mini Obama almost.
Yeah, but Kev,
the youth, the kids want that. They want young people.
But to Steve's point, Kev, the issue with Curtis is that the guy's run for everything every time that something comes up to run for, and he's never been viable. So
and it's the same old shtick.
That's kind of the problem.
Yeah. And he's never Trump, right? This guy's terrible. He hates Trump.
He's never Trumper.
You get the worst of all worlds, right?
What do you think about that? Does being against Trump hurt him?
Of course it does. It seems to hurt everybody that's run tonight. We saw that in Virginia. We saw it in New Jersey. When are people going to just get on board the Trump train like we are here, embrace what's going on? It takes time, and let's get some fresh people involved, some fresh faces. You're right, what Curtis has done, but he is the Republican. So I cannot bring myself to vote for a Cuomo. I just can't. He's not Mario Cuomo.
And you know what? I got to say, Curtis is the only Republican running for mayor that I've heard of since probably Giuliani and Bloomberg. Normally, for other things, they throw up people that you've never heard of, and they can't win because the GOP doesn't have a ground game in New York City, and I'll even say New York State. What do you think, sir?
You're right, Kevin. 1,000%.
All right, Steve, that's about it from here. Again, I think if I had a closing thought to tell you, I would just say, unless something changes, Republicans seem like they're going to continue to hold all the liabilities of the incumbency without any of the benefits, seemingly.
Well, only thing I would say to you guys, New York City is the greatest city in the world with the greatest people, and somehow you're going to have to hold on to whatever we can hold on. Because I don't think people in this country, and I don't think people in New York City or the suburbs, the tri-state area, are ready for the radical policies. This guy's a neo-Marxist and a jihadist, and I'm calling on the State Department, DHS, the Justice Department. Somebody's got to go check in detail this guy's naturalization process and find out if he lied on his citizenship forms. He ought to be immediately turfed out of here, because I think the problems in New York City are going to have. And remember, our country is inextricably linked to the economy in New York City. It is the global financial capital of the world. And it's not like any other city in the United States. You guys realize that if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. It's kind of one of the bases of the American dream, and we're going to have to fight for it every day. And you're right, there's no ground game. The Republican Party there is feckless. There's a bunch of guys from the Upper East Side that want to have a debating society. Mao Zedong said a revolution is not a garden party. And you know who knows that? Mandami and his radical followers. So it's game on right now, guys, and we have your back and look forward to having the entire 6B studio back on here, and particularly the guys out at the America First Warehouse. Honored to have you on the show tonight.
Thanks, Steve. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Historic night in New York City, just absolutely incredible. Let's go to a short commercial break. We're backed up. We got a lot of folks there. We're going to take a short commercial break. We're going to be back in Real America's Voice in the War Room coverage in a moment. Of the parents' rights movement. I guess you got a flat tire tonight?
Yes, Steve. It was a big flat tire.
All right, so 1 minute back, we're coming back to Mondami, right?
Okay, right there. This is Mondami's his celebration party night. As soon as he comes out, I want America to hear what he has to say. So we're going to go live. There, Spanberger's already given her talk, and Mikey Cheryl in New Jersey already gave her her victory speech. Did not hear any concession speech out of Virginia at all, but maybe we missed it. Terry Schilling joins us now. Terry, you're one of the leaders of the parents' rights movement. This is what catapulted Youngkin, the MAGA, and what you guys did in Northern Virginia is what catapulted Youngkin to a victory. 4 years later, Glenn Youngkin single-handedly has destroyed the Republican Party in Virginia for at least a generation and jeopardized President Trump's presidency because Spanberger is going to go to a 10-to-1 map, and we're going to have hell to pay in holding the House in 2026. Your thoughts, sir?
Well, Steve, it's so unfortunate because Youngkin's legacy is going to be completely erased now. We know that the Democrats are much more serious when it comes to enacting the reforms. They're much more coercive. We see this every single day. And your comments on Mamdani getting into New York, The communists are so subversive. They lay traps for us. They glom onto power. They don't let go of it. And that's what's going to happen here in Virginia. Abigail Spanberger is going to erase every single decree and guidance that he issued to every single Virginia schools. All of these boys in the girls' locker rooms, and now the girls going into the boys' locker rooms, and the sex offenders like Richard Cox going into public restrooms and exposing themselves to little girls even. That's all going to be ramped up even worse. And we have these DAs. It's an absolute nightmare, Steve. And the thing is that it didn't have to happen, and it didn't have to happen this big. I have no clue why anyone would distance themselves from Trump or MAGA. Make America Great Again was the greatest campaign theme of the 21st century, possibly even the 20th century. No one's put anything together. There was no campaign theme here. There was no campaign theme here in New Jersey either, Steve. What was the agenda for Jack Ciattarelli? What was the agenda for Winsome Sears? Why were they running? We know why Spanberger was running. We know why Mikey Sherrill was running. They were running to stop Trump, to fight MAGA, and to stop that agenda. Why were these guys running? We don't know. Because they didn't have a coherent platform. And this needs to change going into 2026. Otherwise, this is going to continue to happen.
Talk to me about the parents' rights thing. You know, the MAGA was a merger. The victory in 2024, you had MAGA, the economic populists, the nationalists, the Trump, blue-collar, middle-class folks that say, hey, we got to drive this country to more of a populist economics, more nationalism, more America first, more American citizen first. Then we had the MAHA movement, Bobby Kennedy, Nicole Shanahan. And in addition, the driving force to top it off was the parents' rights movement. That won for us in 2021 in the Commonwealth of Virginia and won big. Youngkin won by 2 points. Where's the parents' rights movement stand right now? Because, folks, you nailed it right then. Abigail Spanberger and these radicals, because they are radicals, they put a happy face on. They get a Naval Academy grad and a Navy pilot that's a prosecutor, and Mikey Sherrill. You get Spanberger with the CIA, and they said, oh, she's a safe pair of hands. She's been hunting bad guys forever. You get Slotkin up in Michigan. That's their national security trio right there. But Spanberger's a radical, and she's going to do radical things in the Commonwealth of Virginia, sir.
No, you're exactly right. Listen, I think that you just nailed it when you laid out President Trump's agenda. He didn't put all of his eggs just in one basket. He had a coherent and cohesive message that was about how we're going to make America great for the American family, for the American worker, how we were going to make our country safe again, how we're going to make ourselves healthy again. There was several different things to appeal to a wide swath of the electorate, and that's what put him over the finish line. But Steve, there wasn't anything like that here. Look, Winsome ran some incredible ads that were very powerful, that were tapping on the sex offenders up here in Arlington County, that were tacking on to the boys and girls sports, all of that. It's so good. But it can't be the only thing that you're messaging on. You need an agenda for American workers. You need an agenda for working families. You need an agenda to keep our kids safe. And unfortunately, Spanberger had way more money. The other thing is, Steve, Youngkin wrote himself a check for, I think, $60 million in 2021. Winsome Sears didn't even raise $20 million, right? She got outspent 4-1. At a certain point, you run out of money to get messages out to appeal to that electorate. It can't happen.